Welcome to the show. This is State of the FGC 2015, going into 2016, and I have three amazing guests with me today. Let's start with Mr. PaulB from the Killer Instinct community. In the middle, we got returning guest Eliver Ling, and then next to him, we got Mr. AJ from Team EG in the house. Everybody say hi.
What's up, guys?
How y'all doing?
Hey guys, what's up?
Sweet. Make sure, hopefully you guys hear them well because I didn't get to test them on stream. I had to like reset up Skype, so hopefully there's no echo. Hold on, let me get a confirmation before we begin. Boom, boom. Cool. Okay, cool. I got confirmation that everything is cool. All right, so what the hell is this stream all about? Why are we here? Well, there's a lot of crap that's been going on. A lot. It's just so much. I mean, Capcom Pro Tour, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, all the other new games that are out, Tekken 7, Killer Instinct Season 2, EVOs, all the major events. It's just too much to cover, way too much time to cover in one show. But let's go right into the important questions. Like, let's just back up from all the goodness, all the fun that we've experienced all this year, and let's go back to revisiting a question that people were so, at least the FGC in my opinion, was so hostile to talk about, okay, when it involved other organizations. That meaning, organizations that have held first-person shooters, MOBAs, and all that stuff, aka what you may think is just esports. Okay, so I want to revisit, with my guests, what you guys think of esport. What you guys think of esports now? Because I know there's a lot of FGC viewers out there that just like still don't even know, the difference. If there is a difference, are we bridging the gap? What is it? I want to talk to you guys. I want to get your thoughts about what is esports in your opinion. And should it be even a difference from the FGC? Is it the same? Is it different? I just want to hear your thoughts, and then I'll go with my thoughts, starting with PaulB. Let's go.
Oh, esports. All right. So, I think esports at this point has just become like a way to draw a distinction between like super high production value and participation and not, right? So I think FGC is like really grassroots, and I'm relatively new to really paying attention to the FGC.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I can see, the largest thing that we have, or the most like largely organized event that we have so far, is probably Capcom Pro Tour. Before that was EVO, right? But EVO is like the one. EVO's sort of been the unifying FGC event. But when you look at things like Call of Duty, or you look at specifically things like League of Legends, they're filling stadiums with people to watch these events, right?
Mm-hmm.
At EVO, you go and there are a lot of people there. Most of them are competing, right? I don't know what the percentage of spectator to competitor is there, but these like esports events are spectator events, right? And I think that's the difference, that people want to watch esports. And with FGC, that we haven't really figured that out yet. I don't think we figured out how to get just people who don't play interested in the medium. So I think that's the distinction, personally.
Okay, sweet. Thank you for that, man. I believe you're right on the nose about a lot of things and perception about esports. A lot of people didn't know, like, hey man, I'm FGC, I'm grassroots. Oh crap, there's esports coming in. Oh, it's boring commercials. It's boring this. Commentators have a stick up their ass. Oh man, I don't want this being infiltrated into our beautiful scene. And then like a few years in, money gets thrown in, opportunities get thrown in, and then they're like, oh, okay, it's not so bad. Some of our players. Oh man, I got so much to talk about. Let's go with Eliver Ling. What's your thoughts, man?
Well, a lot of it is what Paul said. The FGC, like grassroots of it, were in the arcade. It was a place where we could just go to, and we were allowed to basically do whatever we wanted. Like there was no one watching us. We got to be ourselves, and then came competition, we were fighting over like pots of like $300, and we were more than happy to do that.
Right.
And so the biggest tournament, as Paul said, was Evo. But then most of the crowd were actually like there were people who competed in tournament and like went to and out and just want to stick around and see all the other great players compete. And esports, it's definitely something different from where the FGC came from. I feel like the FGC has made huge strides over the last decade or so. Like a lot of stuff we see today, like Evo just filling entire hotel convention halls was unheard of like back in our time.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So like I think as the years are going to go on, I think Evo is actually getting a little too big for a strip, and eventually they're going to need a convention center. So I think little by little, esports is going to be assimilated into the FGC, and yeah, there's going to be like we're not going to be able to do a lot of the same things we were able to do back in the arcade days, where we were allowed to just say what we wanted, do what we wanted, but at the same time, there's a lot more opportunity involved with a lot more exposure, a lot more viewership, and yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're a little bit more educated. You bring up some good points there about like the exposure, right? We never would have dreamed of having freaking what was it, over 15,000 people at Evo now. It's like surreal. With every Capcom Pro Tour event is like 256 players plus at these events now, when we were trying to struggle with like 100 or so. So I mean, it's been taking huge strides in how I don't want to just say cleaning up our act, but just maturing. It's the better word here. So AJ, what do you think, man?
I think this year is going to be big for fighting games and Street Fighter especially. And I mean, you're getting a lot of eyes on Street Fighter now as it is, with Red Bull coming in and picking up Snake Eyes. I don't think that's going to be the last of what they're going to be doing in other organizations as well. The fact that Street Fighter V is going to be on PC is going to attract even more eyes, because you're going to see like PC component makers wanting to get their hand on this stuff as well. Like, I think that because of that, you're going to get a lot more. I hate to say it, but you're going to get a lot more money, and you're going to see a lot more money thrown around in the fighting game scene. And you're already seeing it happen. Like, frankly, like our organization alone, like we helped Twitch put together South by Southwest last year, and that was for Ultra. I think that next year you're going to see a lot more people wanting to throw events like that, because sponsors are going to want to get their hands on a PC version of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is what people have wanted for a really long time. People have wanted more money in the scene, and I think you're going to get that this year. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's looking way better these days. It's just we've all came from a long way, from a garage to little LAN centers to arcades, ballrooms, and as I was telling Eliver, we've matured a lot, and but even though Street Fighter is kind of like the oldest competitive game, we're the youngest to get our shit together. We are. And I mean, there's various reasons, okay? And like the Quake days, right? And the OG Counter-Strike days, StarCraft, they've been around for not as long as Street Fighter, but they were the first ones to like have a lot of support from other companies. Why is that? PC. Way many components in a PC. And for those of you guys that don't know like how this works and why, I'm sure you're asking, man, why fighting games are so easy to understand? This should be like everybody should watch it and all that stuff. And well, yeah, you're right, but fighting games have also the worst way of explaining it to people. I mean, it does. Like I would say we barely started to like commentate around 2008, 2009, barely.
SEO calls actually 2009.
Yeah, right. So I mean, there were podcasts before with like the Sub-Zero show and stuff like with Third Strike. Third Strike was actually the first Street Fighter game with commentary. That was the first one that we can date back for that, right? But PC guys, they've been telling stories. Okay, we suck at telling stories. We're just barely starting to do that, right? So what keeps a game interesting to watch is you got to have like a well-spoken dude or girl out there to like explain what's going on, what the scene is going on, what's everything to make it attractive, make it more presentable, right? Professional or just a good show. And the FGC did not want to hear any of that shit. They didn't want to hear about being professional. They didn't want to hear about like I remember when I started Wednesday Night Fights, dude, they didn't even want to hear Ultra Chen back then before they were Ultra Chen on the mic. They just wanted to see me beat up freaking Andy OCR and Warlock all day long. They're like, get these clowns off the mic. And so that's why there's been kind of like a lot of pushback of why we don't have a lot of companies backing us. Why is this? I mean, we're not even in the spectrum of even talking about being any professional leagues or anything back then. Right, and AJ. So like, AJ formerly from Level Up, he's actually been the first one to see like we should actually get our shit together and try to get and try to get mentored by like Sir Scoots and them back then and DJ Wheat. Remember those days? Yep. And AJ went out of his way to like, hey dude, I'm gonna go help out Sir Scoots do a production for like StarCraft, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like that wasn't really my thing. I didn't really pay attention to it, but that was like the starts of trying to get your feet wet and making this more legit. And still though, it was like very hostile. The FGC was so fucking hostile back then, and it's not until like I think barely a couple years ago, finally, like if you were to put esports in a conversation with FGC, they wouldn't be like, oh fuck esports. They'd be like, okay, yeah, they do their thing. They do their thing. It's now you can really talk about esports and fighting games together without making it like either cringeworthy. I mean, I know some people still have their, I would say they're hesitant to really embrace what's coming. Yeah. But I believe that we were very immature, and somewhat we still are, but we're all new to this. We were all new to this, okay? And as people cleaned up their act, they were getting better on the mic. People bought better equipment. Like, look at Spooky. He's been working his ass off to like better his production, better his self commentary. He does like everything. He's an all-in-one producer, right? Caster, production, tournament organizer. You name it, he'll do it, right? And that's why a lot of people love him. That's why people watch his stuff at like next level. And I mean, he can stream a 4-man tournament and still have like 5,000 people watch it because they love him. They love the way he presents stuff, and it's just getting better. And a lot of other organizations should follow suit. I mean, we've done our time. Panda X Gaming. I know everybody else is kind of like getting better from grassroots, stance to where it needs to go. Okay, so if you guys out there like still wondering, FGC esports, just name any game in any esports genre, right? They all start at grassroots. Look at them now. They all start at home playing. They get an opportunity to like, I don't know, some team says, hey, you're really good at this game. Why don't we just start, let us support you, and we can fly you out to an event. That's how it starts, right? And then it goes and gets bigger and bigger. But there's a lot of people worry about the whole red tape thing. Oh, you can't really say stuff and do all this stuff. Well, I mean, you got to think about this too. There's brands involved. I mean, dude, we can talk for hours on this topic, but just the main point I want to make about FGC and esports where we are now is that publishers like Capcom is turning their entire business model for Street Fighter 5 to this direction. It wasn't because Street Fighter 4 and all the other games were this model, okay? So the company can't really make that much money off of it to support the scene as a whole. So I mean, look at all the other free to play models with like weekly and monthly, skins coming out, missions, and all that jazz, and Dota and League of Legends, and even skins and weapons for Counter Strike. All that stuff is in there. The compendium models and all this jazz. There's so many ways for those publishers to make money, to give back to the community. So it's starting. It is happening. It's been going on with Killer Instinct, right, Paul? It's been going on with Killer Instinct and MKX. We are going like full steam ahead now to where it needs to go. If you want to watch your favorite fighting games, your favorite players on the big stage, on many big stages, not just Evo, like AJ just talked about, not just Evo, but like South by Southwest, more PAX events, more international events. Why is this happening? Because there's an ecosystem is being built, right? We didn't have one before. Now it's coming. We have better content producers. We have better commentators. We have players that are playing at an international level. They have personalities. We got obviously the publishers, and then the fans. Like the fans buy their favorite skins, support their favorite players, subscribe to their players on Twitch. So this is going full steam ahead to esports. It is what it is. FGC going to esports, in my opinion, it's progression. It's not you're selling out. It's not you're turning your back on us or something like that. It's more of like, let's have more opportunities for the players and the games that we enjoy, and that's all that is. So, all right. I know we'll probably get some feedback on that one, but let's just go on for the next question. So, now we just talked about esports. Now let's just talk about something about recent events, okay? What don't you like about the scene right now, and where can we improve? Like any recent events. I'll also start with PaulB. Yes, you, Paul.
Sorry, dude. I'm trying to deal with roommates. What can we do to improve the FGC? Man, that is such a loaded question. And
I know.
As you were talking about like esports and professionalism and stuff like that, that's sort of like for me now that's added onto the list of what the difference is between where we're at with FGC right now, where we want to go in the future. Like, I think participation, spectatorship, and professionalism, like those are the three things for me. How we can improve for the future, man, that's such a tough question, because I think one of our biggest problems has always been participation. So like we're just a smaller community, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a game like League of Legends that was free to play. A lot of people just installed it anywhere on the computer, and then all of a sudden their friends started playing it and they could play together. And, that sort of just grew organically like that, where FGC is much different. And there is like a wall in the FGC, right? Like if I want to learn how to play Heroes of the Storm, right? I can just load that game up and go learn how to play it right now. It's pretty simple, right? At like a lower level, it's very simple. I can pick it up and just start playing. It's obviously at a high level, pretty advanced. They're advanced strategies. Like fighting games are just advanced from the beginning. It's so hard to like jump into a fighting game and like know what the hell you're doing. It's not immediately clear. And I've seen this happen so many times. Like I actually worked with Iron Galaxy at PAX East because I'm one of the top players in the Killer Instinct community. So I was there representing the game, and every time somebody would come up to like play KI, all they did was just mash buttons. And that's what any person who doesn't know how to play fighting games does. They just go and just mash, and it makes no sense to them, right? Like something like League, that makes sense immediately. It's like, okay, I got to bring this guy over here. I got to destroy these forts. I got to kill the core. Whatever, right? It makes sense. So getting back to the original question, what can we do to improve? Now this might come even more on like a game design side of things, where this is personally why I like the direction that Street Fighter V is going in, because they're making the game very simple. They're trying to make the game a lot simpler. But I just think fighting games at their core are not simple, right? They're super things like frame traps. Like there are people who play games have been playing fighting games for years who still cannot articulate what a block string or what a frame trap is. But those are core, fundamental game mechanics in a fighting game, right? So stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe going forward for us, one of the things maybe we need to improve upon is like communication of those things. When we stream, we sort of do it for like ourselves. Even things like Capcom Pro Tour, which is a little more, the commentary is a little more casual, right? Where they're not so technical, but it's still, if you just dropped into that, you wouldn't know what the hell is going on, right? If I have never watched football before and I drop myself into a football game, the commentators and the game itself will be enough information for me to understand what's going on, what the objective is, how one team wins over the other, right? It's very simple. These things are communicated clearly. For us in FGC, in a like Street Fighter tournament, when every time I watch those, I'm like, man, if I didn't know Street Fighter, I wouldn't know what the hell is going on right now. I think that's one big area that we need to improve upon, is like communicating exactly what is happening in these games that are so complex. And I mean, obviously the professionalism thing is a big thing we need to improve on too. But I don't know how we do that, but still keep our like flair or like our personality. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I could talk about this stuff forever. So I'll pass the torch.
Okay, Eliver?
Well, honestly, I think the quality of the FGC has been as good as it's ever been. Like, we're all heading in the right direction. We live in an age of social media. I feel like there are just so many ways that we could attract newer players. We've got guys like Maximilian, Mike, and Gutex putting out content for these newer players to introduce them to what Street Fighter is, to what fighting games are, and bring them in through just straight up likable guys, and then guys just having fun with it. And so, in terms of things that we can improve upon, I don't think there are a whole lot of things that that come to mind, because we've already done so much already, and then we're already heading the direction to really maximize the potential of this scene. But as a whole, I'd say I think more players should go out of their way to be more inviting to more new guys, and so just find ways to help out their own scenes and just build strong competition. I think strong competition always breeds strong quality content.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everybody, that's how everybody gets like a fan off of, like, strong play, either if they're a combo technician, scientist in the lab, or they just freaking know how to rush that shit down, man.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff, Oliver. AJ?
So I agree with a lot of things that both Paul and Eliver said, but I also disagree on a couple of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree that if we're talking about as a community, like what we could do better to kind of improve the scene, and it's really they hit it on the head. Like, people have just got to be more open about teaching somebody brand new. Like, it's okay to teach somebody via arcade mode on like the easiest setting or whatever, because everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
Sure.
And if they're doing something wrong, obviously you're going to have to tell them. One thing that really separates I would say my experiences with fighting games as opposed to something like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, stuff like that, is whenever you invite somebody to play like any game, most of the time, if it's not a fighting game, it's a social experience. Like, you ask somebody to play League of Legends with them, it's a social experience. Like, you're going in a game with somebody as a team, and you're sharing a common goal. It's the same thing with like World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, stuff like that. Not so much with Street Fighter or even something like StarCraft, because it's a one-on-one game. But, I mean, obviously you can do team games with StarCraft also, but it's definitely not possible with Street Fighter. But I think that's where people could be a little more creative, where you can like invite your friends over to do like an online party or something, right? Like, you can go on like an endless lobby with somebody and just like take turns or whatever, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna body this guy. Oh, I got bodied. Let me see if you could bop this dude. I think that people can think a little more out of the box when it comes to something like that, because fighting games is kind of unique in that sense. As far as professionalism goes, I don't necessarily think that people need to be more professional. I mean, I've dealt with many players outside of fighting games. We're talking like League of Legends, StarCraft, Dota guys. more than half of these guys are anything but professional. Let me tell you that.
You're right about that, man. For sure.
I don't think you've got to worry about that. Like people, the thing that the common misconception I keep hearing is that people think that they have to let go of who they are, as crude as you are.
Yep.
Like I
sure.
don't care if you're like cussing up a storm, shit, fuck, damn, hell, whatever. None of that matters if you could present yourself in a way that you can compete, right? Like if you're a top level player and you like to talk shit, talk as much shit as you want. Like look at Leffen, for instance. Like he's a very polarizing guy.
Polarizing.
But he was still picked up by one of the biggest esports teams in the world. And you know, I mean, I would argue that he's anything but professional. So I don't necessarily think that professionalism is the key here. I think open-mindedness is a little bit of a different thing. Not that the two go hand in hand, but I think open-mindedness can really go a long way here.
Yeah, you bring up some good points and about professionalism. I mean, that's the big one right here. That's the whole, I guess, rift between what the whole esports and FGC thing is. It's like you're selling out. You can't really be yourself. Well, I think I've said this before. There's room for many types of shows out there. Just like look at TV. It's not, you got freaking Jersey Shore crap, and you got freaking the Jerry Seinfeld stuff to like CNN. Okay, I mean you can, yeah, and even that's sometimes raunchy. But like what I'm trying to say is, there's room for many types of shows, content out there.
Alex, I don't mean to interrupt you. Can I share something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
So, there's a really, I don't want to say funny, but there's an interesting story I've got. And obviously I can't talk like super specifics because NDAs or whatever.
Sure.
But I will say that even Yipes, like Yipes has been brought up many times in several conversations I've had like outside of fighting games. Like I've been come up to with questions like, hey, this Yipes dude is mad entertaining. How do we fit him into something? And that really took me aback because that took me back to like all these cats that are saying, we got to be more professional, fighting game guys are so hood or whatever. But no, like people want to make shit happen with even Yipes. Like Yipes is all hype. Like I love the dude, but like as far as his commentary goes, the technical side is a little lacking sometimes. And I would say it's more like 70-30. No, it's like 60-40 hype to technicality, you know what I mean? But people still want that sort of entertainment, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing.
Again, you're completely right because imagine if all the commentators were like Ultra Chen.
Ultra Chen, yeah.
Right. Everybody would look at it and be like, okay, there's where do we see a personality that we can actually like, we don't want the same stuff. There's every professional commentator out there in like sports, they have their own thing, like the Marv Alberts, or man, you want to take it way back to the Schick Hearns days, Stu Lance, they have their own flavor. And to go Yipes, we all love Yipes. I don't know if I don't think anybody out there, I don't know anybody who does not like Yipes commentary. I'll tell you that. Okay, he doesn't. Well, he can be technical when he wants to be, but I know he's so skilled in his craft that he just like lets loose and just doesn't even bother with it and just goes to what's going on exactly. Like the blim blam, the boots to the face and whatever, dude. Like that guy is fucking a genius on the mic. And we would love to see if there is a hybrid version of Yipes out there that can do the same stuff, but at least be themselves. That would be amazing. That'd be great.
Z's pretty close to it.
Yeah, Z. Gosh, man, that guy is like fucking so outer space. But yeah, see, that's a great example. Okay, what I do not like in the FGC or in the scene in general. When you have to belittle anything that's going on to just make yourself feel better. And that's vague and generalizing as it sounds. Let's just start with online. People play online. That's all they got. Oh, you're a scrub. You play online. You know, like, that's always going to fucking happen. It's always going to happen because the other guy that plays offline wants his props and his skills to be like freaking noticed out in the open so they can get their fame, their whatever. While new guys that start in the scene, right? And I've said on Twitter that we are in the digital age. The first competitive match, Street Fighter V, I'm telling you this right now, out of the 2 million plus that are going to buy that game, 99.9999% of the people that buy that game, their first match is going to be online. And the guys that have experience playing at tournaments or weeklies or locals or whatever, they're to open their mouth versus somebody online for the first time on their pad. They just bought a PS4 and they're like, oh, and they get that first hate mail is like, oh, you fucking scrub, I'll beat your ass in an offline setting. You guys got to grow up now. We're 2015. Everybody plays starts online. Okay, and that's one part. Another, when new people are coming to the scene, people are actually getting out of their house. Okay, it's fucking today is pulling teeth to grab people out of their house to go to an event. So when they're finally there after they paid their gas, asked their mom for a few bucks or whatever the hell the case may be, they're there. And then right when they get there and they're trying to be like, oh, hey, what's going on? And you got a little click of there and so like, oh, who the fuck's this guy? Whatever. Like you're kind of like, you want people in the scene, right? You kind of, in a way, I mean, you're not there to make friends with everybody, but at least, share the wealth of what's going on. Like, oh, hey man, you want to get next or something because somebody's watching. You want to be a more welcoming scene, okay? And I have been trying to at Wednesday Night Fights at least. I try to make my rounds to talk to everybody, like especially new people, and it goes a long way. It does. It really, really does. And there's people that have come back to Wednesday Night Fights because I went out of my way to like greet them. Like, hey, I've never seen you here before. Like, where are you from, and why are you even here? This is, like, crazy. I mean, what's... And they're like, oh, I saw it on the stream once, and I thought this was cool, and wow, you're actually talking to me, and that's what you're going to get, probably. You're probably a sick-ass Street Fighter 4 player right now, but you don't really talk to people much. But you may have a fan out there that is watching you play, and then you're like, oh, man, who is this creep? He's always watching me, he's following me. Why don't you just, like, spend 30 seconds to say, hey, did you want to play, or, just interaction. And I think a lot of people have a problem with that is because in arcade era, we just go out there, we're forced to talk to people, right? We're just always there. Today, getting people outside of the house to finally talk to somebody for the first time, it's awkward 101. So I'm just letting you guys know, it's the things I don't like to see is just our scene not being as welcoming as it should be. Because after like you meet and greet, and do all that jazz, you may have a lifelong friend. I mean, Choi, Watson, and all those too. 20 years. and yeah, we met in the worst terms too. Like fuck, who the fuck is this guy? To like, hey man, want to go to the arcade?
Watson hated Choi. I'll say that.
Oh yeah. Okay. What can we improve in the FGC? We are maturing. And I think we should keep maturing, right? Not to where we're losing ourselves. It's just to make better decisions, okay? If you are in a rift of like, oh, man, I would love to play, but I got school. Go to school, man. Go to school because the game is always going to be there, okay? I mean, depending on what your life conditions are, maybe, you're pretty well brought up. You have money, I don't know, and you have time to do both. Sure, but like... get your skills because playing and all this stuff is like you might have a future playing later anyways. Like look at Infiltration. He pretty much started Street Fighter at Street Fighter 4. Like he's dabbled, but he's like it was his late 20s I guess when he started, right? and look at that, he's freaking one of the best players in the world today. So it's not like if you're starting out, you're like 19 or 20, and you're like, oh, but I got school. Go to school or like play a little bit. The games will always be there. And I just don't want you to like make a fucking fuss of like, oh man, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that, and oh man, I just need more, dude. I hear it all the time because I get little kids asking me all the time like, hey, should I play Street Fighter or should I continue school? Go to school. Okay, that's one improvement in your life decisions. Go to school, get your degree, and then move forward. I would like to see everybody, like especially TOs, content producers, players, make everything at least more enjoyable and presentable for the new age, because people want to see you more out there. Just I would love to see you guys bust your ass to make this scene amazing. Okay, don't half-ass it. If you're gonna stream, fucking make that shit like so fun. It doesn't have to be like expensive equipment here. Just like put a little thought into it. You know, like look at Yipes, and every time that dude streams, I mean, just people just want to see him just say a few words because he's fucking creative as hell. So, but yeah, I don't want to ramble off too much on this topic, but please tweet us what your guys' thoughts about this topic too. But what would you like to see, improvements and all that jazz. All right, next question.
I just wanted to add,
Sure.
more than anything, going to school is going to help you meet people with the same interests. Like if you like playing fighting games, chances are you're probably going to meet somebody that does that too in school.
Yeah.
I mean, great example of that is the dudes at UCI. Like you'll find a community somewhere.
That's where I started, actually.
Yeah, school. There is so many ways that if fighting games are for you, your life is going to cross with fighting games, anyways, somewhere along the lines. But just make sure you got your priorities set first. Okay. Next topic I like to bring up. All right. So, Street Fighter 4 player thoughts about Street Fighter 5. I know this is not for everybody, but this just takes me back to how Alpha play, or let's say Street Fighter 2 players saw Alpha. Alpha 2 players saw Third Strike, and how Third Strike players saw Street Fighter 4. So now we're seeing how Street Fighter 4 players are seeing Street Fighter 5, or even other subgenres of fighting games are seeing Street Fighter 5. It's very easy. What are your guys' thoughts about what if the players today of the 2009 era, are they just kind of like trying to embrace their game more so and trying to welcome the new one, or do you think they're actually kind of digging it and they're ready to go full steam ahead? Paul?
Oh. Can you repeat the last part of that question?
I was saying, do you think the 09 generation of fighting game players, are they still showing like distastefulness for Street Fighter 5, or are they ready to like embrace it? Because I know there's a lot of talk about Street Fighter 4 players just not really like buying it. They're just like, nah.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Like, it's interesting because all the Street Fighter 4 players that I talk to are not really that excited about it. They're like, yeah, I don't know, it looks really simple. It doesn't look that interesting. And they just keep playing Street Fighter 4, and they're like, that's the game they're into. Like, players from other communities are super excited about that game, or at least in the community that I'm a part of. Like, people are very excited about this game. So I don't know if their opinions are changing on it. I think you have to be pretty perceptive to be able to overcome that first judgment, right? That's sort of a knee-jerk reaction. You play the game, or you play the beta, or you see videos of it, and you're like, wow, it seems really simple. Like, it's quick rise on everything. We can't, where are the fancy setups, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, the input, like the execution stuff, the execution barrier has been lowered, so stuff like that. So it's, you don't have to practice the game for hours just to land, a very specific combo. So I think from that perspective, when they compare how easy that game is going to be to quote unquote pick up I mean, the game is still going to be incredibly hard to master and play at a hard level, a high level, just like anything, right? But they see all these things that they worked so hard to build missing, and to them, they see it as a negative because they invested all that time. So it's more of like a personal perception, and I think you have to be able to look outside of yourself and the perceptions that you've built about what a competitive fighting game is to be like, that's actually really good in the long run, though it sucks for me because I have developed all that, all those skills. So I think most SF4 players, at least the ones that I've talked to, they are still pretty adamant about the fact that the game doesn't look interesting and that they're not that excited about it. But I think once they get it in their hands and they start to realize that it's the players that make the game interesting. The game itself is a platform, right? It's a platform for competition. And really what makes it interesting is what the players put into it and get out of it. So I think once they get their hands on it, once they get to mess around in practice mode, come up with some new tech, figure out ways to make the new system, like quick rise and everything, work in their favor for things like setups, I think in the long run might even be more rewarding and more interesting for them, right? Because if you don't get free setups off of a combo that you just did or something like that, it makes you have to be more creative to follow up. For example, I'm just using Vortex as one example of something that's looks like is kind of missing from at least knockdown Vortex from Street Fighter V, and that's one thing people kind of that's one topic people center around. I think they'll come around, but it might take some while. And I remember when Street Fighter 4 came out, all the guys in the forums are like, man, why was this game is so simple? It's so brain dead. You just turtle and do a DP when somebody jumps at you, right? And the game is so much more complicated than that now. So yeah, that's what I think.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Eliver?
Well, it's nothing new that I haven't seen over the years. I've seen people make transitions from one game to another, from Marvel 2 to Marvel 3. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, Marvel 3 didn't exactly come across as the best game in the world to me when I first played it, but I stuck through it, and over time I learned to appreciate it for what it is. I'll be the first to admit it's not perfect. There are things I would change, but it's kind of like any other relationship you get into. It's never perfect, but then you love it for what it is. And that's actually when I learned how to become a great player in that game. It's when I just sucked it up and said, all right, this game is the way it is. There's things I got to deal with, and I'm going to learn how to play the game, how it's made. And as I look at a lot of the complaints from a lot of the 09 generation, a lot of their issues with Street Fighter V are actually warranted, but it's up to the player as to how much they want to embellish it, or how much they want those little things to affect them. Because I will say this, every Marvel 2 player who dedicate themselves to Marvel 3 succeeded. Every top level Marvel 2 player who went out of their way to become great in Marvel 3 succeeded. Justin did it, Shady did it, Clock did it, Fnatic did it, Yikes did it. So yeah, if you are in essence at the fundamental level a great player, you will find a way to make Street Fighter V work for you. Street Fighter 4 was the same way. I didn't really like how the physics were at first. It really wasn't for me, but then I learned to accept it for what it is, and yeah, I learned how to play the game.
Sweet. Thank you for that, Eliver. AJ?
So I want to reference, I think it was James that tweeted about it, is that people like to talk shit about the new shit, right? And it's been happening for forever, and it's been with different people, and it's just a cyclical thing that naturally happens, and people just learn to accept it. On a personal level, I loved CVS. CVS 1 was the shit. If only because Nakamura was the best character in that game. And from that moment, Nakamura was I'll admit it. Because of that game, Nakamura is forever my waifu. Forever waifu status, right?
God, that character.
And when CVS 2 came out, she was ass. And it took some time until she was actually kind of mid-tier or whatever, and even still you needed her in A groove or whatever. But for me, you just got to learn to adapt to the new shit, right? Sure, she was bad in CVS 2, but there were certain other characters that I kind of gravitated towards to fit a play style. A lot of what I'm seeing right now is like, oh, Street Fighter V is going to be so hard to pick up because my character's not in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all right because you have a particular playstyle that you've already crafted. Sure, it might be setup heavy, but you know, it's gonna sound crazy, but relearning to play a game isn't as bad as it sounds. If anything, it sounds mad fun.
Yeah, man, you all of you guys hit a lot of great points. Adapting, you guys all said that, adapting to the new games, and fuck, man, generations have changed so much. Okay, I would say me, Justin, Tokido, or Cien, or any like multi playing, like multi fighter. We can play them all if we wanted to. Um, we fell in love with fighting games. It's like exploring just the characters, the system, like everything about the game. So everybody picks up a game for so many different reasons, right? And maybe it's just that one character, and then maybe after a while spending with that one character, they open their eyes to like, oh man, I can do the same thing with this character, but it took them that long. It's just it's harder to find those type of players these days that can kind of like explore with everything. So they're just kind of like stuck, right? Like no arcades around. You don't really have. Not everybody buys every game. They just like, okay, I have a demo of it, and maybe I have to actively look for that shit today, versus it being in front of me and I can just go play it for like a quarter or something. So, it's I can see why it's for a Street Fighter player to look at Street Fighter 5. You don't have FADCs, you don't have the knockdowns. It's clunky in their minds. New graphics. It's not as smooth. The characters are smaller. It's not bigger like traditional Street Fighter. I see that. Okay, but the problem that you guys are like dismissing is that you guys are not playing versus people with your skill level. If you played the beta, all right, or it's really hard to judge if you actually have not played Street Fighter 5 yet, and you're just like watching stuff and it just doesn't look like Street Fighter 4. Of course, you're not gonna like it, okay? Because you're too used to watching. How old is the game? Like 7-year game now. So yeah, it's not. It's gonna be really hard to top. I mean, Third Strike was really hard to top. CVS 2 was really hard to top. Super Turbo, all those games were really really hard to top. Okay, actually, wait. When I first saw the alphas, I thought that was way cool because they went to the whole anime look, and everything looked kind of like freaking fluid. But that's just me. But when you play it, okay, when the game is out in the arcade, you play it and you play versus your peers that came from the old, from your last game, and you both are like starting anew, and then you're like, oh fuck, now I remember why it's so fun to play these games, because everybody wants a piece. Like the competitive thing is back. It's not like, oh, I see this, I'm theory crafting, oh, it's gonna suck because of this. Right when you play it, and right when you play these good players, you guys are gonna level up together. It's gonna start all over again. I know I'm gonna put Cross Tekken out there. Yeah, the community at first they thought it was sick. And then after a few months, it's like Jab Fighter and it's timeout heavy and all that shit. And by the time 2013 came, or I think was it the 2013 update, it was kind of already too late. I enjoyed it, community didn't, but the neutral game in that game was pretty fucking hot. It's just unfortunately like the tagging system and how things hit, it all felt a little weird and a little too slow and distasteful for people. So unfortunately that missed the boat. And
Next ideas on paper, but just the execution could have been better.
Yeah, it could have been better. It could have been better. There's so many other reasons why it turned a lot of people off, the gem systems and all that, but like just the core of it. And I just saw some people starting to like it. Like some Street Fighter 4 players ended up liking Cross Tekken, but unfortunately not many others did. And that's why the game died. If people liked it today, obviously, of course, more Street Fighter 4 players would tackle Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Cross Tekken was like their gateway to start playing a new Street Fighter. It was. It was just like, okay, can you play a versus-ish type Street Fighter with a little bit more robust system? And and can you play an actual real neutral game with no focuses? You know, like could you? This is all experimental, but it just unfortunately didn't happen, and the game died. And now that Street Fighter V is in the horizon, um, a lot of setbacks, but interesting enough, one of the guys that really did not buy Street Fighter V at all was Chris Tatarian, and today he tweets that everything that he's talked about Street Fighter V or not liking it, he completely had he had a 180 on the game, like he just completely changed his mind. He's all and Ultra David said, "Oh, really? Why is that?" You know, and Chris Tatarian is all like, "Well, it's because I finally got a chance to play versus like Mark Teddy and Brent, and I've been trying to tell that kid, dude, and many others, you will not like a new game playing versus scrubs. Like Chris is a fucking excellent Street Fighter 4 player. Brent, Mark Teddy, all those guys, excellent Street Fighter 4 players. Execution heavy, spacing, all that stuff. Yeah, Street Fighter 4, but that transitions very easily to Street Fighter 5. If you're playing, if with that skill set and you're playing Street Fighter 5 in the beta versus like scrubs and people that never played fighting games before, you're gonna get bored." And that's all it was. If you went on the beta, you played versus people that was doing Tatsu's full screen and even Street Fighter 4. You're not gonna have a fucking fun time playing that shit if people don't know how to play. It's an obvious. So now that you're finally getting your feet wet versus your rivals, versus your peers, now you're starting to see like the potential that the game has. So I'm really happy that he actually finally opened his mind and is like, okay, maybe I'll give this game a shot. Because he was one of the guys in SoCal that just preached that fuck this game, Ken is whack, this is whack, it feels whatever and whatever, you know. But that's it. So hope you guys actually just you guys don't know what you're missing, man. I've played it. I've played it a lot now, and there's some shit I do with Rashid that just you guys gonna fucking like get wet, dude. All right, next topic. All right, and since we are on Street Fighter V, let's go right into it. Street Fighter V. Now that the last beta and last stress tests have been around, first of all, I'm only gonna talk about the not the PC shit that sucks that happened at Capcom, but just the experiences of if you've played the Street Fighter V recent beta, your experience with it, and like where do you think it's going, your point of view, and what you guys think about Street Fighter V. Go, Paul.
Oh, I love this topic.
Yep.
So Street Fighter V, man, Street Fighter V, I think is an incredible game. I've played every second of the beta that has been up that I haven't had some, prior responsibility. I've been there playing it. I've been there streaming it. I think the game is fantastic. I think the direction that it's going in is absolutely fantastic. And just like quick background on like my history of fighting games that I've liked. Third Strike for me was awesome. I loved it. Street Fighter 4 for me was not the greatest. I love watching it today. I love the high level play. I love the personalities. But for me, that game never really clicked. Third Strike was like immediate. I was like, man, this game is so good. Like it just clicks with what I want to do in a fighting game. Street Fighter 5 seems to go back to that like a little more. And like I've played fighting games in Street Fighter 2, but I'm primarily a Killer Instinct player. And that game is just setups, vortex, craziness, doing things that are unsafe because there are combo breakers. It's just nutty. And like for me wanting to progress as a fighting game player and to work on things like fundamentals, like Street Fighter 5 is like this amazing opportunity because that game, it may change, right? We never know what that game is going to be 6 months to a year from now. People could find all sorts of crazy tech that just makes it exactly like Street Fighter 4. But what it looks like right now is a game that's all about neutral, all about footsies, and then there's all this other cool stuff built in, right? Like if I use Kareen as an example, she's the character I've been playing the most and the one that I think is the most fun. Kareen is legit, right?
Yeah,
her
dude,
buttons
she's the hotness, dude.
Oh man, she's so good.
Dude,
she's so
is.
good.
Oh god, that character is so good.
So and when I look at her and I'm like, all right, what do I really like about this character? She's got great buttons. She's got these fancy setups and like mix-ups, but they're super unsafe, super reactable. You can like poke out of the middle of them. But man, she's got those really good footsies. And when you find people to play and you don't use those buttons, you get blown up, right? So that game, I mean, who knows what it's going to be? And obviously my experiences are only in the beta. Most of the people are not good who are in the beta because they're just people who downloaded the game and just want to press buttons. You know, they grew up playing Street Fighter. But some of those people are like legit when you run into, like, I think I played Snake Eyes, right? In the last beta, I ran into Snake Eyes. It was like my second match. I'm like, oh shit, is this really Snake Eyes? And it was incredible because it was all about spacing, buttons, neutral, and it's just like a discipline thing. It's all about discipline, right? And that's how I view neutral game, right? It's like, how disciplined am I to not do something stupid or unsafe and just wait and try to play, footsies with this guy, right? And as soon as you like stop being disciplined, you lose. And to me, I don't know, like that's just how I am. Like when I see fighting games, I see like an art form. I see something you got to like train for, you know what I mean? You got to put a lot of time into it. So the discipline aspect is really interesting. And I think that game is all about that right now. It's all about just the simple thing, man. Neutral, spacing, footsies, everything else sort of like helps all that. But those are like the defining characteristics of the game. For me as a player, I think that's incredible. And the way that they've simplified the game, so quickly moving to like the end of your question, which is where do I think it's going? Like, I think the way that they've simplified Street Fighter V, right? All right, so just to roll back a little bit, right? People are criticizing the game because it's so simple. But let me tell you right now that a lot of those people criticizing the game that are so simple are not that great at neutral or footsies, right? Like most people aren't, right? That's a hard thing to be good at. I'm not good at it. I got to practice that stuff. So like a vortex, all right, I'll knock you down. I'll figure out, oh, maybe I have to jab before I jump. Yeah, I got it, right? That's pretty easy. Neutral game, footsies, that shit is hard, man, because that's all mental too. And that's all about the mind versus mind, person versus person situation, right? Yep. So the game is still infinitely complex in my opinion, but they've removed the stuff that's unnecessarily hard. Like, well, shit, here's this optimal combo I have to land. I might land it 80% of the time because it's super hard. I have like a 1-frame link I have to put in. Ah, fuck that, man. Get that stuff out. The game is still infinitely complex. But now, when you first pick it up, you can do all the bread. You can go to a YouTube video, look at the bread and butter combos, be like, yeah, I landed that on my 3rd try. I've never even played fighting games before. Like, it's super easy. And I think for the future of the game, that stuff is incredibly important because now, to me, Street Fighter V looks more like League of Legends or Heroes, where it's like, I don't know shit about MOBAs, but I can jump in Heroes and do stuff and I don't feel like I don't know what I'm doing, right? It's like, well, I'm not winning. I don't necessarily know what the advanced strategies are. I'm probably fucking my team up right now, but like I can walk around and understand that, like, oh, I have to attack that thing. Oh, the other team is here. I have to attack them. And it's all super simple, right? Like, you know how in MOBAs you have like QWE or whatever, right? They don't make those like 9 button combinations that you have to land within a certain frame, right? It was like, shit, I tried to do my ice maneuver or whatever and I had missed the frame. Like, fuck that. No, it shouldn't be about that. You press one button and you do it. And if you did it at the right time, if you had the right spacing, if you did it to the right character, you win, right? So again, I think for the future of the game, minimizing that stuff is like the best thing for the game's future. And I think at a high level, the game will be maybe even more interesting than Street Fighter 4 to watch because when I start watching Vortex in Street Fighter 4, I get bored. But when I see neutral, I love it. So that's my answer.
Sweet. Thank you for that, man. Eliver?
Well, I've had a chance to play a good amount of Street Fighter 5 at different events, and the beta as well. And so far, I'm really liking it. I do enjoy the direction where it's going. Like Paul touched upon, it's really simple and it's very fundamentally based. It's going to come down to really who has a better ground game. Like nothing is too execution heavy from what I've seen, and like it's going to take a little bit of getting used to because like right now with the block strings, I feel crouching jab is a really good move for everyone. Like it blows up almost every single block string, and I think that's going to become less effective as time goes on. We get more used to the timing of it. There was actually recent reports on the last beta test up in NorCal that a lot of the characters were getting nerfed. And I guess that's going to be my biggest concern is, are they going to nerf them so much to the point where they become really boring? I mean, like right now I was like looking through a lot of reused nerfs, and so
25 nerfs.
Yes.
25 25. I know.
And I was looking at them like he basically has one combo now, doesn't he? So yeah, it's like I'm hoping that like he's a character that's supposed to be played fundamentally, so he's not supposed to be all that creative like at all anyway. But like it would have been nice to have an extra combo here and there. But in the meantime, I've had a chance to play most of the characters. I'm having fun with Karen, Armika, Ken. I was having fun with Ryu, probably not as much anymore, but overall, I am liking the game. So
Okay. Cool, man. Thank you for that. AJ.
Something that I don't think anyone's addressed yet is like all these guys that just have rock hard dicks for Street Fighter 4 and don't want to let it go. No one's saying you have to let it go and move on to Street Fighter 5. I mean, Marvel 2 persisted for as long as it did because people loved playing it. Smash has persisted for so long because there's a lot of people that love playing it. If you really, really just love Street Fighter 4 that much, no one's telling you to stop playing it and move on. Street Fighter 5, I mean, I don't get to play a lot of games anymore. Like fighting games, forget about it, right? But from the minimal amount of time I spent with Street Fighter 5, I enjoyed the shit out of it. I mean, sure, it doesn't have custom combos like I'm used to with CVS2 or whatever, and I don't think I'll ever see custom combos ever again, which is kind of a drag, to be honest. But if setups is what you want, play Marvel. I mean, you don't have to move on, is all I'm saying.
Okay. So is that your addition to the last question, or what do you think about Street Fighter 5?
I mean, in all honesty, like I'm not a player. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm definitely not a player.
Okay.
But from a pedestrian perspective, I think that Street Fighter 5 has a lot more than just what you see on the surface. And like Paul said, like you got to put your time into that game and really get to know it before you start hating it. Like there's been a couple betas for it already. I mean, the game is still going to change. I can tell you this. When we were at Tokyo Game Show, when Karen got revealed, Momochi said that Karen was ridiculously overpowered. And when he got to play her again at NCR, he said that she felt completely different. So if there's something you hate about the game, it's going to change. If it's a widespread thing that people hate about the game and people actually spoke out about it, it can change. It's not going to be the way it is out the box, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Sweet. Thank you for that, AJ. All right. So Street Fighter 5. Now, guys, I am reading through the chat, but like, if I answer every single one of your questions or like go at it, we won't finish our topics. I'll just tell you that right away. We'll have time to do a little bit of QA. Hopefully, our guests can stay. If not, it's cool. But like, we'll do our best. But just be aware, I am reading your comments. Oh, sorry. So Street Fighter 5. Yeah, I can tell you right now, when I first saw it, it was like, okay, cool graphics, but it moved like shit. I'm like, what? All right, I have to like, and that's what I thought about Street Fighter 4. I'm like, man, this game moves like shit. It looks like dog shit. Like the movement and everything. I'm like, man, this doesn't even feel smooth. It's just like, is it the graphics? My eyes are like, I don't know. I gotta get used to it again, or what's the deal? And you're talking about if you play, think of the games before Street Fighter 4, CVS2, fucking the Alpha games, and those games, and Super Turbo. Those games are fast as fuck. Okay, they're really, really fast. So, like, execution, everything has to be on point. You have to commit to those games. Like, if you fuck up those games, you're done. And then they slowed everything down in Street Fighter 4. It's like, okay, if I fuck up, it's not too bad because now I got a ultra meter and yeah, I have another chance, right? And we always talk about this whole thing now. Like, all that shit is stripped out of Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 5 is back to commitment. And it's like, oh, it's bringing footsies back. Oh, it's bringing all of this back. So now it's like all the OGs are going to come back. Or is it an excuse for the people that sucked at Street Fighter 4 to start fresh with Street Fighter 5? Look how much excitement this game alone is bringing. Okay? So, I mean, I've played as much other fighting games as possible back in my heyday. but Street Fighter is the one that like just knocks on every other genre's door. Like, hey, I'm coming out, Blaze Blue player. Hey, Tekken guys, I'm coming out. We're all like fucking excited about this fucking game, regardless of like the initial impressions people think, because it's getting cleaned up per appearance at these trade shows. Like AJ said, like the whole Momochi thinking Karen was like OP. Well, fucking Ryu was OP way back in the early betas when he can do strong crouching roundhouse every time. So I can tell that is like a Street Fighter 4 thing. Like you can kind of like get your one frame link into the sweep and just keep doing that over and over. So I think they took that out because it was just way too easy to like keep getting knockdowns on people. They want you to work a little bit harder for a knockdown. Most combos in Street Fighter 5 do not allow you to link a jab into a medium anymore. You have to commit with a jab into a special right away. There might be changes to that, but I just see that's very alpha and very super turbo like, and some CVS too, minus the characters that have chain combos. But that means that you won't get devastating damage off of like hit confirming lights anymore. You only do that after frame trapping with with mediums. I think that is the direction that they're going with now. And so with the people getting annoyed with getting swept over and over, I think they're taking a lot of that out unless you get a solid frame trap. Of the other 24 fucking nerfs to Ryu, I don't know, man. Like all the damage output that he can do in the corner is no longer there. He can do EX Tatsu into EX Fireball into EX fucking Uppercut. That's, what is it, like 695 point damage combo in the corner? That is gone. So maybe Combo Fiend was rushing down the devs too hard. I don't know, but I'm kind of like foreseeing some of these little cool things that should be cool, but no. Anyways, where Street Fighter 5 is going. Oh, I'm getting him. Is that me? Oh yes, message. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Sorry, somebody had a question on Skype. But anyways, where Street Fighter 5 is heading. Oh man, well you guys haven't really talked about the netcode. Man, I would be happy if Street Fighter 5 if Street Fighter 5 just adopted Cross Tekken netcode. If they just fucking put that in there, I'm a happy camper already. Because Cross Tekken, I could play that game versus New York, versus Florida, versus the Midwest, no problem. Like I get the matchup experience. I mean, there's not delay, it's just the rollback, and it shit just feels real. Like you can land all your combos, no problem, spacing. Street Fighter 5 already feels like that. So for the first time, we are gonna get we're gonna get fucking the guys at Next Level versus the guys at Galloping Ghosts versus the guys at WNF, like any day of the week, without like bitching about online anymore. So no input delays, none of that crap. So there's gonna be lots of fucking smiles on your face when you finally play this shit. Because I know Cross Tekken, when it first came out, that rollback, that garbage that they had there, that wasn't the true rollback. That had a lot of fucking issues. Like people were teleporting all over the screen. That shit needed to be cleared up. The sound issues, that was a distasteful like look on how rollback was. When they fixed it by 2012, it was kind of already too late. So a lot of people weren't really feeling rollback. They just, I had this discussion with people back in 2012. Would you guys prefer rollback versus input delay or standard, what Street Fighter 4 is, netcode? And a lot of people were saying, oh, I enjoy Street Fighter 4 netcode. Well, that Street Fighter 4 netcode is only good in fucking Asia. All right? Or if you're playing locally. But, in countries that require far distance connections, is too unreliable. It's just ass. So I believe the community is going to really enjoy the online play for Street Fighter 5, and especially for players that don't have a local scene. They're going to level up much faster. I think players are going to level up that much faster than ever before. It's not going to take 2 years for an online warrior or an online player to be a wolf crone after like 2 years or so. It's gonna probably take them like 6 months or even 3 months, maybe. Only time will tell. It's going to be. You're going to see a lot more killers out there. And more events. I would assume people are going to start to finally adopt online events for Street Fighter V. We've dabbled in it in Street Fighter 4. People, I know they don't really care about Street Fighter 4 because they don't consider it real. They won't. They won't fucking consider it real because they have this whole like, oh, well, these online players, they wouldn't do the same shit offline. No, they would. It's already proven. There's a lot of case studies. Like I already mentioned, Wolf Crones, the Latifs. Fucking Smug. All right, so there's a bunch of case studies out there from Street Fighter 4 players that play online that fucking destroy the scene offline today, or do really, really well. So
this is like something I'd really like to follow up on, Alex, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. We can talk. I just want to get a couple more things out.
Yeah.
So all right. Besides online play, the whole business model that they're throwing out here. Okay, that now there's gonna, they're gonna try to pump up content every 2 months, or characters, their DLC characters every 2 months. So I mean, you can only buy one disc, and after that, everything else is digital. So there's a lot of opportunity for, people buying skins, and I don't know what else they may have. Here's a wish list: stages, old school music, stadiums, or whatever the case may be, and a portion of that money could probably go to events. It could probably go to like funding like even a bigger Capcom Pro Tour experience, or I mean, the sky's the limit. It's just the voices have to be heard. We're, like I said, our first topic was like FGC and esports, right? This is the direction it's going. So you see it, MKX, they have the skins, and it's part of the reason why SCR had a $10,000 pop bonus was because of the community fund from that. Same with KI. So Street Fighter V, Capcom is adopting the same thing, but they're going a little bit deeper with this, with all this stuff. So really, really a lot of opportunities in that direction. Cross play. So fuck, man, there's so much to talk about. For the first time, we're going to be able to play people on PS4 console and PC. Don't sleep on that opportunity, because now we can actually have events that are Wednesday Night Fights is like the only PC event. I foresee more events trying to dabble into that now. Why not have like Alienware versus fucking iBuyPower versus another computer company, to actually have these huge events now, because now we're dealing with more components in there. So way more fun stuff is coming up because of Street Fighter V. And if iBuyPower Cup that just passed wasn't like a prelude of things to come, that was like a $5,000 side event. Okay, they just they had $100,000 CS:GO event, okay? And then 2 weeks before the event, they hit us up and they're like, hey, would you guys mind running? You guys do Wednesday Night Fights here. You guys do a great job in fighting games. Would you guys mind throwing like a $5,000 side event for Street Fighter? Is $5,000 enough? Is that cool? I'm like, $5,000? Sure, dude. We love to give money to the community. No problem. Think about that, okay? And that's a side event. So, yeah. All right, Paul, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, so the only thing I wanted to touch on was, and I probably should have mentioned this in my future Street Fighter V, is the netcode. And I think so. Some of you guys from the Street Fighter community may have not had the experience of playing a fighting game that actually has rollback netcode, a really good netcode, and it is incredible. And mainly because you can get your competitive practice online with people, go to a tournament, and the results are pretty much the same, right? And this whole offline versus online mentality, for example, in our community, doesn't exist. Now, some guys will use it as an excuse when they get hit by shit in online tournaments, but for the most part, these guys are getting hit by that shit offline too. So the results online and offline are pretty much the same. And I'm not sure if that's something the Street Fighter community has really experienced to the full extent, because I've played Street Fighter 4 online, and it's different. It's very different. The neutral game is very different. Street Fighter 5, that component, that problem is eliminated. And in my opinion, once the Street Fighter V netcode gets tweaked just a little bit, it's going to be probably the best netcode on the market. Like even KI, there's like a 3-frame delay. You can actually feel that when you're trying to land very specific combos. With Street Fighter V, I don't notice a difference between going online and playing in training mode. Like I don't notice it. It's not something I have to adjust to. And that ultimately changes the competitive landscape, right? Now you don't have to worry about traveling to tournaments all the time. You don't have to worry about finding a local to play with. All you got to do is develop some sort of network online of people to play with, and you will be good at the game, right? And when you go to an offline tournament, you know, once you get over your tournament nerves and all that shit that everyone has to go through, you will be good at the game, you know, depending on who you run into. So that is a very important thing, and I'm not sure the Street Fighter community like really recognizes how serious of a thing that is, because now you're going to start seeing a lot more money, like you mentioned, Alex, a lot more money and a lot more attention going into things like online tournaments, because people are going to take them seriously. Like in our community, our netcode's always been good. We didn't have a new version of the game come out where the netcode was better or something. Like that was just always a thing for us, which meant that online tournaments were always serious. For example, we have an online tournament coming up tomorrow. There's like a $3,000 pop bonus. And I can tell you right now that the participation in that tournament is going to be ×4 what it would be at an offline local with $10,000 in the pot. And I mean, these things have happened. I think CEO had something like 50 to 60 people. There was a $10,000 pop bonus. This tournament has 3,000. There's going to be ×4. There's gonna be a factor of 4 people in that tournament to sign up. So it increases the amount of people you get to play. People are actually going to take it more seriously, and it's going to increase your success offline. And there's going to be the curmudgeons who are like, yeah, but you know it's online, and those people will be left dead in the water. I'm telling you, because all this new blood is going to come in, and they're going to be like, I don't give a shit. I play online, and I'm good, and it doesn't matter, right? And that whole thing is just going to go away. It's going to go away. So that thing is also very, 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 very important for the success and future of Street Fighter V. That was one of the reasons I played Street Fighter Cross Tekken at all. By the time I got into it, it was like 2 years released. It was on Steam. I'm like, let me try this game. I'd spend half an hour looking for somebody to play. Yeah, it's fine. But the netcode was so good, I could actually learn the game the way I wanted to. I could go and be like, all right, now I can play footsies, or I can land these combos that I've been working in training, and it doesn't feel any different. And for me, that's like, all right, I'm committed. This is fun, because now I get to, you know, test myself against this huge, like, mass of people online, instead of like, well, I can try to find that one dude who's still playing at the local, and you know he's not too good anyway. Like he just likes the costumes or some shit. So it really is a game changer for the future of the game and the future of yourself as a competitive player, if you want to devote yourself, you know, and put your time into it. So yeah, that's a big deal. The netcode is a big deal.
Yeah, netcode, Street Fighter 4, when people play it, if you're not already used to that, like if you play offline and you'll like never want to go back online. I mean, that's just like, why would I want to fucking do that? And everybody finally figures out that, like, oh man, this input delay, all this crap, man, I'm just getting so frustrated. I can't do what I want in real time. I can't do it. Like, I have to anticipate my moves. It's not an enjoyable game for me to play competitively online. So, and then that just cuts out, like, what, it's 80% of your practice time, or maybe even 90% of your practice time, because where else the fuck are you gonna practice? It's so hard to like call a buddy over to have them practice, and if that's your only buddy, you're like missing the boat on like if you play, you know, one character, there's fucking 44 characters in the game. But I mean, it is what it is. You know, new game, better netcode. Starting out with 16 characters out the box. I think at least experienced Street Fighter 4 players, you guys will probably learn a character, at least the basics, within an hour, and that says a lot, because it may be like 20 to 30 minutes combos, and then 30 minutes of like innovate your shit, dude. You know, like pretty much you should already know how to frame trap. You should already know how to, like, you know, jump from a distance and kind of cross up, the basics. So now it's just like feeling out where their moves hit and all the hit detections, confirming and all that jazz, and you'll be ready to go. So like look at Infiltration, right? Like if you ever watch any of his streams, he plays like any character like anytime. Like he'll play Laura, he plays all of them already. Like I think we have 8 that we can play now, or something from the last beta, or something like that. But that's you're pretty much playing a MOBA. Like you forcefully have to use different type of heroes, right? You're gonna have to know their abilities and all that stuff. And I don't know too much about them, but that's probably one of the first things you got to know, and you got to learn them quick. And in Street Fighter 5, you're gonna start learning all these characters really quick. You don't have to fucking cry learning Evil Ryu's combos. Okay, it's not gonna be that way.
It's a it's a little different comparing it to a MOBA though. I mean, the transition between characters in a MOBA is definitely a lot more simple than transitioning between characters in any fighting game.
Yeah, it's no, I see your point there, but the point I'm trying to make is here is like, it's the struggle from Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter 5 to picking up another character. The time is going to be cut like immensely. So it's going to be night and day trying to pick up another character, because the whole character loyalist thing, that shit's going to be out the window now, because you're just gonna you're gonna start to see that you can put your style, your personal style, on any character on the map, and it's not gonna take you fucking months to do it. So,
and I think that's like super super intentional on Capcom's part, right? They don't want to see the same three godlike characters who have the least amount of bad matchups. They want to see a very level playing field where there is a lot of counterpicking. It's like, well, shit, I'm not so good against Laura with my Rashid, so I got this other character, and now it's great because now from a spectator's point of view, you're seeing every character on the board. And it's not like, well, shit, I gotta spend 3 months learning a new character for a counterpick. It's like, well, no, I'll learn her in an afternoon. I'll go learn her right now. And to master her will take some time.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's not like mastering a new character in like today's crop of fighting games. It's that takes months.
Yeah, for sure. And we can actually probably explore, just for funsies, like if this will be the first game that we explore strikeout characters.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people want to see their favorite characters, but I think like the way that we're going, like, dude, I'm giving my full faith on Street Fighter 4 players and that have really grinded on that game. They're gonna be exceptionally fucking good in Street Fighter 5, and it's gonna get to the point where they're playing 10 characters already. So if it would be interesting to mark off some of the characters you think that they're too good with, just for that time. So
such a great idea, because like you said, they do that in MOBAs, right? And it's like, well, now you can't pick this guy, right? So who are you gonna pick, right? And it's less about, well, I'm really good with Ken, and I know all the matchups, and it's less about that, and it's more like, I'm really good at Street Fighter 5. You know what I mean? And that's it. Like, are you good at the game? Are you a student of the game? Or are you a student of like a character that's really good? That's the big difference.
Okay, I think I know we can have an entire fucking session about Street Fighter 5, so let's move it along. Okay, let's take a little step back and talk about the Capcom Pro Tour, 2015, $500,000. Anything that just comes into your mind? What do you guys think of it? We're pretty much going at the tail end of it now. One more event coming up. Go, Paul.
All right, so I'm going to have to be honest here. Like I said, I'm a KI guy.
Right.
I watch pretty much every Street Fighter tournament that comes along, but I'm not, these things are not memorized for me at this point.
Sure.
All I can say is I'm really excited about it, and I think it's incredible, especially that it's something that's being driven by the company itself. Somebody has to start that stuff, right? It's analogous to like BlizzCon and the stuff that StarCraft's been doing with the global world champion stuff, right? Like that elevates the game as a competitive platform, as a sport, and it's super exciting. For me, as like an FGC guy now, the Capcom Pro Tour for me is like is just like a shining hope. It's like, well, now Street Fighter 5 is going to have something even better, and that's something maybe I'll get to be a part of as like a player of the game. Not saying I'm going to get into the Capcom Pro Tour, obviously that's probably not possible, but just saying as like somebody who plays the game and understands it and is a spectator and just involved with with the game. So I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited for what it's done for us as a community and what it's going to do for us in the future. And there's going to be some really, really great matches.
Okay, thank you for that, Paul. And reminder, guys, that PaulB is a prominent member of the Killer Instinct community. As he said, he's very interested in Street Fighter and how it's going. So like it's awesome to get point of views from players that are, if they're transitioning or they're just kind of like paying attention to other scenes. I really enjoy that. So thanks a lot for that, Paul. Oliver, go ahead.
Well, this is going to be our third Capcom Cup, our fourth if you count 25th anniversary, and I think it's one of the greatest ideas that Capcom's ever come up with. Like, it's good for a scene. It gives us something to look forward to at the end of the year, because before that, it was just we had Evo, and then a lot of players would just be done for most of the year after that. So, like with this year's Capcom Pro Tour, the whole scape of the competition field, it's been interesting. Like you had Momochi really dominant at first, and then as time went on, it's like the entire competition field started catching up to him, and then he wasn't winning as much as he was earlier, and then he was able to win Evo, and then other tournaments he didn't even make top 8. So I think Capcom Cups can get really interesting. You've got a lot of strong players. I see you smiling there, AJ. You know what's up. But yeah, it's like I think Momochi is easily the favorite. He's had the best year, like easily out of the entire competition field. There are definitely players who can beat him, but I'm really looking forward to it. So hope to see you there.
Cool. Thanks for that, Oliver. AJ?
I'm definitely not looking forward to Capcom Cup because I've already had multiple heart attacks in multiple events this year. I can go easily without a Capcom Cup Finals this year, but in all seriousness,
championship and run.
In all seriousness, though, this year has been a struggle for us, like for sure. You could argue that it was harder to get in last year because there was half as many people to get in last year, and seeing as we've only got 2 players on EG side this year, I know I'm gonna get clowned on that. It's tough for me to swallow this year, most definitely. Even with Momochi having been proven as one of the best, if not the best, Street Fighter player in the world. Justin, I'll be happy if he doesn't go 2 and out. But no, that guy's been putting in a lot of work, so I really can't wait to see what Justin comes up with, especially seeing as I think he's finally found his identity. I mean, it took all this time, but I think he's finally found a really good identity in Street Fighter 4. Momochi, I believe it or not, Capcom Cup last year, Evo this year, I didn't come into those events thinking that he was going to win, in all honesty. And every time he plays, I always just freaking feel like I have a heart attack. I definitely think he's got a good shot this year too, but his competition is ridiculously stacked right now. And I'm not even just talking about like the Asian guys. Like Luffy and Valmaster have proven time and again that they're players to really worry about too. So I don't know. I can't say I'm excited. I'm definitely a little more worried than excited. But I think it'll be a fun tournament to watch. It being one day only, I think it does it more favors than anything. Because you get to plan your day around a ridiculous day of Street Fighter. Obviously this year you're going to see a lot more faces than you did last year, and I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say?
Thanks for that, AJ. So if you guys have been living under a rock, the man right here that is currently number 1 was 2014's Capcom Cup World Champion. So, and the controversy of last year was that they should have invited Sako because he was 2013's champion. Yeah. But as results here show that this guy right here is the biggest target on his back, and he's won the most, like I would say the hardest, but like I guess what prestige maybe, whatever you want to call it. He's won like Evo. God,
he's one of the 2 biggest tournaments.
Evo. Gosh, what is it? AJ, help me out here.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, South by Southwest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a round robin. That was like one of the first like crazy round robins we had besides the Canada Cup Master Series. So like, man, and I would think at this point Street Fighter, man, there is there's many years of people having like their yearly runs. You know, Daigo had it, um, Infiltration had it, and then here we go with Momochi. Like they had like the most dominant performances I think out of every Street Fighter player in the world. Those were the ones that kind of either got a back to back or they had a full year of sweeps. And this is definitely well, definitely Momochi's year. And that's why he has the biggest target on his back, and he has the most points. And then Infiltration is just right there, right? So it's kind of like, man, all the evil champions and Bonchen, the guy that's always been second, Mr. Second Place, is just gonna be clawing his way. And before like I go through all of these, I mean, I'm just either they've all won Evo or they've gotten second place. So, except Mago, but and Daigo's already in 10th. But anyways,
Isn't Mr. Second Place Gamer and not Bonchan?
Yeah, that too. They're both. I think they're both tied for the second place charm. I mean, the heartbreaking charm for them.
Yeah.
So, but besides just the player stuff that you guys already touched upon and like the excitement that this brings, I want to talk about what the impact of the Capcom Pro Tour has done for the community itself. So, since the Capcom Pro Tour has been out there, we've been getting a lot more eyes to watch. And I think Capcom has been doing what they can with like their amazing team to fly out to all the events that they can make, either if it's in the West or in the East. So shout outs to Chris Seglia's team, and shout outs to Z and Cameraman's team for holding it down to all fucking 32 plus events. Oh man, worldwide. So more eyes been watching it, more players worldwide, participating. And we're bridging the gap from like the whole spectators to playing, because now you can kind of feel that how can you get into this? And when Street Fighter 5 in the horizon, the whole online thing, that's going to be huge. That's going to be big. And I know Capcom did online stuff with it a year back, but it wasn't too well received, and there was a lot of controversy on it. And I think Street Fighter 4. It's pretty safe to say it's even today people still don't think it's like the best game to play online and to take that skill set and put it into the CPT world, right? And I think a lot of people do have some really valid points of not really associating both of the systems to like kind of get be a part of the Capcom Pro Tour because you did really well online for Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 5, on the other hand, if it is playing like the way it is, that's actually up to discussion. I mean, I would love to see them try it. And we may see a lot more talent that would never get the opportunity, because going to these Capcom Pro Tour events is fucking expensive. Okay, and we're trying to we're trying to cater to the younger demographic. I mean, I'm saying we's because I'm a TO, and I would love to get new players, especially young players, because I know all the old players, those are our lifers, but we make sure we take care of them always. But to take care of the young guys, we got to make it accessible. To make it accessible, we got to try to make the entry fee to these things cheaper, running it in a time. Man, this is the TO struggle, by the way. We got to make our events like extravagant and like a lot of things to do in these events. And if these events are still costing like $400 plus for a plane ticket, another $400 or $500 for a freaking hotel stay, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, they're gonna be like, there's no way, I can't ask my mom. I can't going to school and working, and I'm gonna be a shitty Street Fighter player. Why would I go? So online, if Street Fighter 5 online is well received, I would love to see the opportunities come about, because I've been experimenting with WNF online and getting some of the online warriors out to events. We flew out 4 of the players to the biggest. Well, the last one is final round. That is still yet to be determined. But the first 3 seasons, that's what we did, and we were just experimenting with it. And even though Street Fighter 4, it was still well received because we've had new players that got their feet wet in tournament play for the first time. Okay, and they're like, "Man, this is so cool. I wish I would see more of these opportunities, like to fly out to a major just to see how I would do." And Gamer B is one of those stories, right? Not from online world, but like his friends told him that, like, hey, why don't you try going to Evo? I mean, you're pretty good. Nobody knows, right? And I think that's the impact that the Capcom Pro Tour is going to have if they were to go the online route for Street Fighter 5. That we're the minority here, by the way, guys. If we're playing locally and we're playing at like even majors, if we're playing at majors, we are still the minority. The majority plays online, okay? And everybody that's figuring out where is that hidden talent, that's where we're gonna find them. And with the player pool that big, and growing even more, we're gonna be able to tell more stories. And the whole way this stuff works is by good storytelling. And from the beginning aspect, when you turn on the game, playing online, doing well, going to the local event, going to the regionals, going to majors, going to Evo, getting noticed, qualifying for the Capcom Pro Tour, that's a fucking amazing story. So that's another aspect that Capcom Pro Tour is blowing up in that space. And now more professional leagues, teams are noticing. Red Bull has been like, if you guys been living in a rock, we got Bonchan, we got Snake Eyes, and they're doing amazing things with this because like Snake Eyes got his own movie, his documentary, okay, and we've never had like a lot of this. We had some documentaries here and there, but when Focus, right? Yes, that was. I mean, we would love to see more of that. And when you have a company like Red Bull doing these things because they really take care of their players. I know EG's done stuff with PR Balrog. That was a fucking awesome ass fucking documentary, by the way. And I know they did this one with oh my gosh, it was for Dota, I believe. AJ, do you remember that one? Something Boys.
Oh, Dire Boys?
Yeah, yes. I remember that. So like other genres have been doing this stuff for their players, right? This is another way that exposure is coming. You know, like the team organizations are being really serious about this. Besides just like flying them out to special events, they're getting them fucking opportunities to like be in magazines. And this is how like Korea freaking did this shit back in StarCraft, right? After they started like to blow up in StarCraft, all of a sudden you see him in fucking soju bottles or fucking you see him next to K-pop fucking singers and stuff, man. And they took care of their players. I would love to see more of our players like getting into that level, but we can't get there without participation and the fans and an amazing ecosystem that I think Capcom Pro Tour has been finally getting their stuff together and embedding their events with our grassroots events, so we keep it within the family. And then on top of that, they're doing they were doing the trade show stops and then teaming up with a lot of other companies to get some stuff going. So kudos to them. Kudos to them. Okay, let's go to the next one. Just one more, and then we'll just go to QA. All right, let's talk about 2016. All right, what do you foresee happening in 2016? What would you like to see? And it's simple as that. Go, Paul.
Well, 2016, I mean, we've touched on this a little bit. So obviously, I think, man, this is like heavy to say, but I think Street Fighter 5 could potentially be the thing that makes us this esports thing that we've been talking about. I also think it's a really good opportunity to like unify the FGC. And it's strange to say because the FGC has always been about like all these different games. We've got anime games. We've got, we got Killer Instinct, we've got Tekken. You know, we have all these different games. I hope I'm not alienating anybody by saying this, but I think it's just a great opportunity for like everyone to come together and try a game together and like make it successful and get like all the eyes on it and up the production value and everything, and get a lot more people streaming it and teaching it and talking about it. A lot more online events, I think, are also going to have a large part in this. So I think you're going to see people competing in events, in leagues that are happening weekly, monthly, or whatever, that are really going to drive the success of this game in the long term. And that's another thing I would like to see. So StarCraft sort of has this thing, and I think in Street Fighter it's called Topanga. They have a similar thing, right, where it's like a league and you play games in it, and there are classes too. So it's like, well, shit, I'm not the best Street Fighter player. I'm like in that tier right under it. I should have a venue to compete and participate, right? So I think something like that will also be important for 2016. I hope somebody starts that. Like we have no notion of that right now, and I hope that it's largely online, right? The game is going to have good netcode. The skills are going to transfer on offline. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. It's already been proven in other communities and games like Killer Instinct and like Skullgirls. So I think we need somebody to develop something like that. Obviously, maybe the Capcom Cup will be that. Maybe that will turn into Capcom League or something like that. I really think we need something like that. And I hope something like that comes out of 2016. And I hope everyone just tries the game. And I really hate saying that because it makes it sound like everyone should quit the game that they play now to go play Street Fighter because it's a great opportunity. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like try the game. You might end up falling in love with it. And like for me as a competitor, when I look at these things personally, when I look at a game and I'm like, all right, this game looks really cool, but nobody plays it. There's no avenue for me to compete in it. I'm going to be basically sitting in training mode playing it by myself. So what's the point, right? Even if the game is phenomenal, what's the point, right? So like for me, coming from a community like KI, there's a community there. It's pretty small. It's hard to find really good people to play all the time. So for me, I'm like, well, I like KI. I like Street Fighter. I'm going to put all my time into Street Fighter because there's going to be a huge amount of people to play. There's going to be things like leagues that I can participate in. There are going to be all these online tournaments. So again, I know like what I'm saying is like half negative because it's like, well, stop playing your game that nobody cares about and come play Street Fighter, right? That's not what I'm saying because I play one of those games nobody cares about. And I put that in quotes, obviously, because some people do care about it. I'm kind of being, I'm exaggerating a bit for effect here. But like, it's just a great opportunity for us all to be like, yo, check out fighting games, and this is why they're so great, up the production value and everything. So I just hope I hope somebody starts those things, right? I think the league is the biggest one, and the online stuff is the other one because, well, also we don't want too much shit happening, right? We don't want like, well, there's like 30 online tournaments. Like, which one do I sign up for, and which one is the true test of like being a good Street Fighter player, right? So I just hope somebody unifies all that stuff and like makes it official. As official as possible. That's what I really hope for 2016. That's what I really hope to happen. And just I don't want to see, and this is gonna be the last thing I'll say. I really don't want to see, like we touched on this earlier. I don't want to see a top level player make some disparaging remark about the netcode and because they lost in a tournament or something and be like, you know what, this game is very different online. And then a bunch of other people who respect their opinion because they have so many followers on Twitter or whatever and look to these guys for guidance to be like, yeah, you know what, this game sucks online. I'm only going to play it offline now. And now we lose all that opportunity to like elevate Street Fighter V to be esports. How do you think COD and like games like Heroes or League of Legends, right? If the game wasn't playable online and exposed to so many people at once, it would never be esports, right? Like you can say whatever you want about COD and Counter-Strike, those games have damn good netcode, man. When I play it, it feels like I'm playing it offline, or it used to feel like back in the day when I used to play those games offline. So like, just don't let people twist your opinion about what the game is going to be, right? Like, yeah, the netcode sucks, much different online, because it's going to be the same, dude. It's going to be the same. And these online things are what's going to elevate us, right? Because if all we're left with is like these East Coast tournaments and these West Coast tournaments, and there's some in the Midwest, there's some in Texas, and like we can never do anything. We can never elevate from there if everything is so segregated and compartmentalized like that. It has to be together. It has to be one tournament everyone could compete in, leagues. That's sort of what I'm hoping for the future.
Cool, excellent, Paul. All right, Eliver.
Well, I think there's a lot of potential in Street Fighter V. Like Paul said, it could be the game that unifies the entire FGC. But then as soon as that's done, it's like it could kind of fragment it again. Like you could have like multiple different communities. You could have multiple online tournaments, and then like, but at the same time, I see that as opportunity. Like there's going to be a lot more opportunity for people to get involved with the community, more more ways to compete, like more people to play against. I think Street Fighter 5 will help local scenes as well. It's like there will be areas where you don't have a whole lot of people playing like Street Fighter 4 or Marvel or any other fighting game now. Like with Street Fighter 5 coming out, it's like more people are going to get involved, and then you might find someone down the street who's just like wanting to learn, and you can introduce them into the FGC, show them what it's like. And as a whole, I think Street Fighter 5 is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of top players to help out their scene, like putting together content and helping out other players as well, like elevating the level of play in their scene. As far as tournaments go, it's going to be great for tournaments. You're going to see a dramatic rise in entry for all the majors. I expect Evo to have at like around 3,000 players in like for Street Fighter 5 alone. I think it'll be great for Capcom Pro Tour. It's going to be really competitive with a lot more players coming out from the woodwork. And yeah, I'm just really hoping for the best.
Sweet. Thank you, Oliver. AJ?
So we're talking about what we want to see for 2016.
Yeah. Thoughts
Okay.
on 2016?
Then can I say I want to see more Armika Laura cosplays?
Yes. 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 Go.
No, but seriously, I would like to see more events, and what I mean by more events, but I mean like more like highly produced events, because I think that's really what's kind of been lacking. I think that it's events like those that really kind of get the eyes of future sponsors or people that want to throw money into the pool. Um, and I think that when you start producing more events like that, it just kind of snowballs from there. More and more people are going to want to do more of the same thing. As far as like, and I mean, I'm talking just from a perspective of somebody that manages the team, right? I want to see more money in the players' hands, because I think these are guys that definitely deserve more money. After all, these are guys that entertain the shit out of us, right? And if you want good high quality entertainment, you usually pay for it. And I think that we've been fortunate thus far that these guys have been willing to do it for peanuts, quite frankly. Because compared to other players, our guys don't get paid a whole hell of a lot, and it's unfortunate because I no bias or anything. I think watching fighting games is the most entertaining thing I could watch in the scope of esports. Um, I mean, we could argue back and forth about which game is more entertaining to watch, but as far as accessibility goes, for someone to like walk into, for someone to let's think hypothetically here. If some Joe Blow who knows nothing about esports walks into a place with multiple monitors with every single esport playing, they're probably going to understand Street Fighter a little better than anything else you could
Yep.
show them because it's more visceral, it's more obvious to see what's going on. And I think that if people start realizing this, I think it can go a long way. Um, so really to kind of like sum it up, I really wish and hope that 2016 brings more production to fighting games and Street Fighter events in general.
Yeah. To touch on the fighting games or visceral. So at South by Southwest, because we produced both of the events, we did a Dota event, an invitational, and then Street Fighter, that invitational. Um, Normally we see games like Dota and League. I mean, they just got stadiums full of people and just like huge following, right? Um, so I took pictures of both outcomes of just like the people walking around the South by Southwest, and it was actually Street Fighter that had more people watching. I don't know if you remember, but there was just the walkways were completely full, and then versus the other year, Dota, it was just, I mean, it was packed, but just in the section. So that was like the first time I saw that. I'm like, man, shouldn't people understand what's going on, and shouldn't it's so much easier than like if you see little creatures with fireworks going on and little like circles and beams. I'm like, dude, like, are they hitting them, or are they just building like houses? What the what's going on? And but it's just coming from the 90s, everybody saw just like fighting games is like so like easy to really understand, and then but the MOBAs are just so jam packed with the audience. So yeah, 2016. Um, we have two platforms that we need to really push. Well, obviously our locals, our weeklies, our LAN events, our majors, and now I would love to see just more people crack at the online world and take it far more seriously. And I know I keep saying online a lot, but I won't say too much of it. But just it needs, like, you need both platforms to coexist. That's where you're gonna have to, that's like the basis of a good ecosystem. Okay, because when you have the entry level, pretty much the blueprint of a new player going into the championships, you need that online infrastructure to be like embedded to what we're doing in the long haul here. And then comes with everything else, the publishers support, the fans like rooting on both. Freaking, like, say if there was an online championship somewhere, right? They're gonna watch that shit because there's a lot of money behind it, or it's a qualifier to maybe a big ass event or whatnot. LCS does it. All the Call of Duty, Halo, like all those things, all those genres of gaming have qualifiers online. So I mean, it's gonna happen, okay? And I would like to see more of that stuff. If you want to be a producer, try it out. That's how you get your name out there. If you're wondering, man, I want to be a content producer, but I don't have a TO that I can partner with, fucking do it from home, man. Do it from home. Do what Panda X Gaming does. That's how he got his name out there. And look at him. He's a perfect example of him like busting his ass, and then now he's like streaming KIT, Texas Showdown, and a lot of various like Midwest events, and he's doing great, man. We love him to death. That guy's done his fucking work. Commentators too, like, you'll have more opportunities if there's more content producers, right? They're gonna need to call people to commentate because it's hard for them to do both. Not everybody's a spooky that can do everything. Okay, my commentary is mediocre at best because I'm much better TO. And so we need to see more just content producers overall. I would like to see from TOs, everything in production, fucking TOs, casters, cameramen, fucking post video editing, graphic artists. Like, your jobs are gonna be Street Fighter 5 is coming. Okay, so people are gonna need overlays. All right, people are gonna need music. Okay, that people are gonna need, like, that's how we found Zed, right, back in the days. Like, he made our sounds for a lot of our early stuff. All right. That's Red Rapper, by the way. So a lot more opportunities are coming for you. If you guys went to school for this stuff, when we first started this stream, I said go to school. This is what you're going to school for, and you never knew that you were gonna get a job. Probably, I might fucking hire you. So, like, if you're good enough, I might take you to a major or like help in one of our productions. If you're passionate about the scene, that's one of the things that we look for. So, if you're looking for ways to help the scene, right, and you're just a fan, you don't play fighting games, but you like to watch it, be more involved. Like, spout out some ideas, because we don't know all the ideas. We love to like say that we know everything that's gonna happen, but we don't, right? We just constantly tell us like, hey, tell us how we can improve. Because as AJ said, he would like to see like higher productions here and better ways to showcase our stuff. Please be open about it. Constantly bombard us with shit, even though like we may not reply to everything, but that's how we open up our creatives here. We have a limit. So, what else I like to see? 2016, um, play more fighting games. Okay, don't just oh man, I'm gonna preach this every fucking year. Don't just play Street Fighter. Play a 3D game. Play an anime game. Just get your hands in there and just like fucking embrace fighting games. Don't just embrace Tekken. Don't just embrace Virtua Fighter. Embrace fighting games. Your mind will open up and you'll be like, "Oh wow, now I understand why you like this type of game so much." And then it sparks conversations. It you start innovating. You know what? Maybe I'll throw an event to cater to all of this stuff because I understand it better versus shutting yourself out into like one click and then not paying attention to everything else. Because look at Evo, is trying to get every major fighting game, at least the popular ones out there, in the limelight, and all the other majors are doing what we can, but we need you guys out there to really kind of like say, hey, the Mortal Kombat community, they like this game, and we already know why. Um, it's they probably should deserve this section because they're bringing in this amount of people. That's comes with experience of you going to these majors. And then the anime guys, oh, they deserve this spot because et cetera, et cetera. And that's why when you start accepting more, it's less of, oh, fuck the anime guys or fuck the 3D guys and they don't deserve this, they don't deserve that. You have a mutual respect with one another of like, why are you trying to bring up these scenes? And it's because of the love of the game, the love of fighting games, not just the love of one game. Because if it was just love of one of the games, and then you're just going to see one stream with one game, and it can happen, by the way. Okay, so I brought this up at the Daily Dot. I think Efren asked me if I if fighting games are they cool to have one stream with various fighting games or one stream with just the most popular game. It's kind of happening with the Capcom Pro Tour. It's only on their channel. But then, however, they're attached to other majors which have the other lineups. It could go the whole, League of Legends route in the future. We don't know. That could happen. But your voice needs to be heard if you want that to happen. Would you want to the Capcom Pro Tour be separated and have its own big stadiums and it's just only that, or do you like it the way it is? Okay, I personally prefer it to be the way it is because it helps the scene as a whole grow this way. Because if it's the other way, and there's cons with this, by the way, and I'll let you guys know what that is. If it goes and if it keeps going in the direction that it is now, I mean, it's growing our scene as a whole, and we're all like kind of elevating, right? But if it's a standalone event and it's filling stadiums and it's going the player route, then other games have to follow suit in that direction. It's just it's really rough, but there is a lot of opportunity money-wise if it's just focused on one thing and they have their own attention. Like, say, if you were to stream Street Fighter from the pools all the way to the finals each day versus just only having a couple hours stream. So there's pros and cons to both sides of it, but it's up to you guys to tell the publishers what you want, okay? Versus them jumping the gun and be like, oh no, we got to go stadium way. Oh no, we'll just stay FGC. Let them know. Because I would definitely still like it the way it is, because it just brings us all together and elevates it all up. Anything else? Yes, don't be an asshole to your content producers. We all we all want them to have a brighter future down the road, and it's really hard for them to keep going if you're constantly saying their shit sucks when they're just trying to improve. Just have constructive criticism to help them. And they'll get better. If they don't, then the best way to tell them to fuck off is just not to watch their stream. But just don't don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Okay, all right. Enough of me rambling for that. You guys, thank you guys so much for answering these questions that I propose. If you guys have to take off, that's cool. If not, we can do a QA with some of the people that asked some questions on Twitter. So it's up to you guys. You guys let me know.
Let's see, what time is it? I'm good for now.
Yeah, I'm good for a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul?
Stick around.
Okay.
Stick around for a bit.
All right. Let's go. Let's look at Twitter, guys. And forgive me for not really responding to all your questions now. This is the portion that we do it. Okay. One guy asks, paper, rock, scissors. What? No. Gosh. I'm gonna try to refrain from the strategy questions for like fighting games. 'Cause I think we just need to talk about how the scene is as a whole versus singleizing. Like, how do you frame trap somebody? How do you zone them? Okay, let's see here. Oh, you guys gotta answer a little bit better questions. Okay, how about I'll leave it up to you guys. Is there a question any of you guys would like to ask us? Your peers here. Paul?
Nothing on the top of my mind, but you can circle back to me. I might have something.
Okay. Oliver?
Let's see. Okay, I guess this question goes to you, Alex.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on how the new Wednesday Night Fights is coming along, and where do you see it going in the next 3 months now before Street Fighter V drops?
Oh, okay. Wednesday Night Fights, and I am treading carefully, okay, because I have learned a lot from my past in other venues, of course, and I am wanting to make this experience as enjoyable, but not reaching for the stars, not just yet. And we've just finished about a little bit over half of the season, and just trying to see if we can run it in a respectable time. The first few we ran way over time. It's super unacceptable, and we had a lot of drop off because of that. People are they're much older now. It's not like I can run Wednesday Night Fights 5 years ago and people can still play 3 and 4 in the morning, no problem, because that's everybody's got jobs and they're at the tail end of their schools. They got to throw in their like last few things before they graduate. They can't fuck around. But besides that, it is going really well. The venue is loving it. They usually throw like they're open every day, and it just opened in October as well, like early October. So they're trying to get weekly events, and we were one of the first. We've actually been in contact with them for quite a while, and lo and behold, Esports Arena was the location that SCR was going to be at, and it wasn't built yet. So that's how long I've been in contact with them. I've been in contact with them while I was at Super, because I've already I'm looking forward to the future of the scene, and I'm not going to sit here and like kind of twiddle my thumbs and just do stuff. It's a lot of planning, and working with these guys have been great. They've been amazing with us, letting us stay there for like 4 in the morning on our first one, and I think we were at 2:30 for our second one, so we're getting a lot better now. And the players, I've heard, the first few negative feedback was the first week, of course, the time, and then the PC version. They didn't like the whole button check stuff, and that goes with like getting them used to it. But the main thing was some of the systems weren't set graphically, like they weren't set to the optimized graphic settings, so that caused a bit of an input delay. And 3 of the machines were like that. So but after that, it was fixed, and everybody enjoyed it. So we've had amazing finals with, Snake Eyes wins, of course, and then he loses, and then Chris maintains it, and then he loses to Casablanca, and then we have Knuckle Dew, which just fucking annihilated everybody, which I know you guys are dying to hear my thoughts about the taunting, but if you guys want...
Yes, that was my next question. And that would go out to you, Paul, AJ, and the rest of the stream. Feel free to chime in.
Okay, so taunting. Hey guys, so
I like this topic.
Yeah, if you're a strong player and you let yourself get eaten up by taunts, you need to fucking tighten that panty up, man. You gotta make them never taunt to you ever again. And if you let them get to your head, you're not a strong player, or you're just not I just think like if it's in the game, it's not like illegal, right? It's not illegal. It's like if it was if we ban taunts, yeah, of course we're gonna fucking say, hey man, you can't do that shit. You get DQ'd. But it's allowed, and you let it happen, and you should fucking punish him for it. And if you can't, if that gets to your head, well, guess what? You gotta fucking man up. You gotta play harder. And I love Brent to death. That should, and I don't think that's gonna get to him. It's more like he was just pissed off that
You can punish,
yeah,
basically.
he couldn't punish and he couldn't play right, or he didn't know the matchup, and that was Chris's like excuse too. He didn't know the matchup. There's not enough strong Guile players here, but like it's just the way that he's playing. Knuckle is not doing anything.
Yeah.
Okay, not to take anything away from Knuckle, but he wasn't doing anything special.
Yeah.
He was taking advantage of them being impatient, and if you're playing versus Guile old school, all right, you cannot jump over a sonic boom once it's out. You cannot do it. You can only anticipate the sonic boom. You can't get a free jump in. It's never gonna happen. But what they do is they see a sonic boom and they test it. They jump over it, and fucking Knuckle Dude jumps back fierce that shit. Or he crouching. He'll do 3 different anti-airs for however way you're jumping over the sonic boom. So if that doesn't click in your head yet, you've already lost half your health just trying to do that. And then now, by the time that you sit there blocking the sonic booms, you're not jumping anymore. So the threat of you jumping is gone. So what does that do? He throws another sonic boom. He does more normals, and you're just fucking flustered, and you don't know what to do. You're done. And he's not doing anything special, but just punishing you being impatient. And you can complain all day that we don't have enough Gals, but if you actually look at the tapes, why are you jumping like that?
Yep.
You know, so taunts, if you're gonna do them, if you get away with it, kudos to you. But if you fucking taunt against me, you better win because I'm gonna fuck you up.
I mean, on the real, it's like what Knuckle Dude was doing wasn't anything new we haven't seen. I mean, a
Right.
lot of players have ways of getting into the opponent's head. Like F-Camp is notorious for this. Like he will find ways to frustrate you just so you'll overcommit, and like he'll just punish you for that. So yeah, like Brent, like you're saying, like great player, awesome guy. Just he just let the taunts get to him, and he's still relatively new to the scene. Like he's been at it for like maybe 2-3 years, and he's gonna get better from it. So yeah.
Can I speak on this whole taunting thing in like sort of a serious way? Because like people are talking about in the chat, there's a little bit of it's a little polarizing, right? I've seen this happen before where like some people just think it's like the most douchey dirtbag thing to do, and some like they think it's not sportsmanlike. And Vi, please feel free to cut me off if this isn't worth talking about, but I love this topic.
Okay, go ahead, man.
And some people think it's like the douchiest thing to do. It's not sportsmanlike. And then other people are like, yo, if that dude's taunting you, you better fucking punish him, right? The game I come from, in between rounds, you can teabag people, right? So like that is also another element. And like taunting, they'll accept maybe, teabagging, no, you're a dick. And it's like, all right, here's what I think about sportsmanship, man. We sit down, I shake your hand. You're not my friend. I want to beat you. Right now, you're like the last person on earth I want to be friendly to. But I'm being sportsman. I'm going to shake your hand. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a good game. In the game, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do to you to get you on tilt, to make you make mistakes, to get you impatient. There are no rules. There's no sportsmanship once you're in the game because there's nothing I can do to like hurt you physically, right? Like if you're a fighter, MMA or something or whatever, and like I punch you in the balls, like that's fucked up, right? Because now I've like incapacitated you as a human being, right? But in the game, right? If I reach over and like elbow your controller or something, that's fucked up, right? But in the game, the developers have given you a set of tools, right? If I'm pressing down on you and that's fucking you up and getting you mad, you better check yourself, right? That's on you. That's not on me. That doesn't make me a bad sportsman. That means there's some tool that's in the game that I'm using, just like a Hadouken, to fuck you up and get you on tilt, right? So like that whole sportsmanship thing, you know what I'm saying? It's like if I shake your hand after I teabag you a bunch, then I'm good. That my sportsmanship is sound, right? We shake hands, it's good. We had a good competition, it's over, right? But like in the game, come on, man up, man. You can't get upset about that.
Yeah, there's still trash talk that goes down. Like people do it, and I actually still support trash talking. Just keep it within the game. I mean, if you're if you're out saying that like some guy is like too fat or too ugly and all that stuff, then yeah, you're being over the line. But if you're just saying like, oh man, I'm gonna beat your ass this time, and we'll see about that, that way, right? And that's fine within the game. Just don't make it personal. You make it personal. You can say, yeah, well, every trash talk is personal, but just as long as it's relative to the game and not to the person's appearance, their religion or any of that stuff, then don't do that.
Dead relative.
Don't do that. That shit's not right. But it's been going on for years. In sports itself. You have people like just. Well, actually, it's pretty freaking brutal in sports, but and just the way competition is, it's not all roses and rainbows. People want to win. People are hungry. Adrenaline is pumping. You're hype, and then you pop off, and in the middle of it, sometimes you can't control it. It's just a part of you. You want to express yourself, and dude, he's been taunting for. It's not new. He's been doing it for a few years now. That's just the way he does things. So if he does that in Capcom Pro Tour, maybe not. We'll see. But I doubt I'll see it because I think it's just nobody's gonna let him do it. I don't think anybody's gonna let him do it. So, yeah.
I'll say this that like when it comes to taunting and trash talk, like stuff like that, it makes players better. I mean, one of the guys who actually motivated me to get better, like when I first came in the scene, was Combo Fiend, because the first time I played him, he was just straight up rolling me, and like throughout the match, half the time he wasn't even looking at the screen. He was like looking over to the left, like, yo, where my boys at? And he was just styling on me the whole time. And so I looked over and I'm like, this motherfucker, I am gonna kick his ass one day. 10 years later, I never did that, but it did make me a better player. So shout outs to Peter. Thank you for the ass whippings. Thank you for the taunts and disrespect. But yeah, we got to beat him.
Hold on.
One guy I can never beat.
Hold on, I got you. Oh, this shit's still up. Hold on a second. Let me get this. Oh damn it! The image is too small. So there is a picture of remember the infamous Filipino champ finger on on JS Master. Do you guys remember that shit?
Yep.
Okay, so
oh god, I used to have that saved as my wallpaper, and then I got a new computer.
Oh yeah. So AJ, do you have any thoughts on this topic or?
I honestly think people should just get the fuck over it. I mean, people want to ask me about, why is Justin so butthurt about Knuckle Deuce taunting when he has an entire stream on him, like basically shitting on this little kid in MKX or whatever. I mean, you got to understand that like sometimes people like Justin, they just get a lot of disrespect, and pop-offs and taunts are one thing, but when you get it a certain number of times, it kind of gets to you at some point. Now, whether or not he believes it is kind of a different story, but I think there's a tipping point for some people, and I think that was probably one of the tipping points for him, considering it's happened to him too. But me personally, I think it makes it all the more entertaining. I mean, in football, like I fucking loved watching Deion Sanders just dance whenever he got an interception return for a touchdown. Like that was the best, and that was the most disrespectful thing you could do to somebody. Like, I think it's great. I think it's entertainment is what it is to me.
Yeah.
But actually, but AJ, like coming from like you represent these players, right? You represent a team. That team represents a brand. So now this guy who's talking shit, dancing around his opponents, is representing a brand who puts a lot of money into the sport, puts a lot of money into the team, right? Like personally, I've had that bad experience, right? I was represented by a team, and this didn't happen personally, but the team didn't give me this shit. But like the community would give me shit for my personality, taunting, talking shit. But it's like that's what I've been since day one, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So like, there is a fear from players. It's like, well, if we're gonna be ourselves, if we're gonna have fun with it, talk shit, it is a competition after all. Like, should we be worried that, you know, guys like you are gonna look down on us and not want to pick us up in the future? It's like, we got to stay away from PaulB, talk shit, you know. But like, people love that shit, man. Like you're saying, you love watching Deion Sanders dance around. Who doesn't, right? You don't want to ban that. You don't want to get rid of it. You want to encourage that. You don't want people to be personal or jerks. Keep it in the sport. Keep it friendly, right? At the end of the day, I might dance around you, but I'm going to shake your hand at the end of it, right? So that kind of posed that question back to you. It's like, maybe you personally, but what about your organization, and what about the people who are like supporting your organization through sponsorships? What do they think about it? Are they like, yeah, man, let these guys rock. These guys are awesome. They're good for the sport, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great and fair question to ask me, because I mean, doing what I've done for however long I've been doing it, like I've definitely seen it all from like all extremities, right? From the innocent taunting within the game to somebody outright just saying you're a piece of shit and like threatening or whatever. There's a line that you just cannot cross when it gets to that point, and I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you what that line is. I think it's just within your, you know, within your good judgment to kind of decipher what that is. But historically, like let's I don't know if you guys are familiar with Idra. He was a StarCraft player and was very, very, very popular for his bad manners, right?
Yep.
That guy was popular because he was that personality, and we accepted that. But there are certain times where it's just not acceptable, and we have found players like that in the past. And in all honesty, like you just have to, as a player, you just have to know a little bit of common sense. Like you can't be in the middle of a tournament with a chat like that everyone can see and just say like your opponent is a big pile of dicks or whatever. Like you can't just do that. There's a point in time for that, and out in the public is not one of them. So innocent taunting, like what Dude did to Brent, what he's done to multiple players in the past, like that's fine. I mean, he's not like on stream calling you a big pile of dicks or whatever. Get over it.
you know, I think the harsh part wasn't the taunting. In my opinion, I think the harsh part is when fucking NuckleDu was spinning in his chair in the fucking middle of the game. If I saw that shit, I'd be like, "You motherfucker!"
You was basically playing the equivalent
Dude,
of
that
Street Fighter.
dude, that like taunting. I mean, I've been through quite a few taunts in my lifetime. I mean, people have been like, when they beat me around, they fucking left the arcade, scream at the top of their head, and come back, and I just finished them off before they came back. So, yeah. I mean, it's just, man. But we could be talking to the new generation. If you guys don't know about like the whole how we feel about taunting, it's just fun in games, right? We don't throw actual violence on it. It's not like the 90s. We don't fucking do that shit no more. Okay? Like if you were to taunt me or like Watts back in the days, you wouldn't see tomorrow. Anyways, today it's like people taunt, we laugh at it because man, we've been through all that shit for so many years and it's just funny, and if you get away with it, I just feel we deserve it because, or at least I do. If you taunt me and you fucking won, I have to hold that shit. I'm like, man.
Hey, Valle, can I interject a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I actually want to blame you for something.
Oh shit.
I remember distinctly playing in an arcade, playing Alpha 2, after seeing you at like what was it, B4, where you pulled the fucking custom combo shit. I pulled that on somebody and dude legit thought I was cheating because I was able to do all these shits with custom combos in Alpha that he had no idea existed. So just a little shout to Alpha 2 custom combos. They're the best.
Yeah, you're hey man, whatever parlor tricks you know and did on people, it fucking people see video games differently these days, and it's in a way it sucks to say. It's just we live in a time where a lot of people are a little bit more sensitive than they have to be. Well, and when there's if there's competition involved, expect people to be a lot more hype, a lot more fierce, a lot more adrenaline's pumping again. So they're just going to be out there. All right. If you go to these events, you'll feel the vibe immediately. You're gonna feel the vibe. And fighting games. This is why I love. One of the reasons why I love fighting games the most is because when you go to a fucking fighting game tournament, you're gonna feel that shit. If you go to any other tournament, you're gonna like it's fucking crickets until something happens. There's never crickets in a fucking fighting game tournament. You're there, you're gonna feel excitement, and it's because something is happening. These rounds go for a minute to a minute 30. Think about that. So like KO, and you're gonna see some like fuck, shit, fuck, like you're gonna see reactions like man, you're gonna sticks being thrown. You're gonna see something, and then you're gonna be like, no wonder Taunt's fucking badass. Of course you want to land that shit. So okay. That was a amazing topic. All right. Here is a question. We actually got questions now. Oh man. Oh, this is okay. How might FGC producers generate more revenue? This is by Panda X Gaming, by the way. He should know the answer to this. Come on. How might FGC producers generate more revenue and larger budgets for more professional event broadcast? This is a question I have to answer. Yeah. So, so Panda has been obviously one of the staples now, of course, in the fighting game community, producing high quality streams. He did the Absolute Battle streams, which was like up to date, one of the highest production fucking streams out there. Great stream. And he's asking like, how do we make more money? Well, you fighting games I'm gonna be real talk here. So, with us in Level Up, we just do not do fighting games. We do various events. So, you're gonna have to expand. You're gonna have to expand to like. If you are a content producer, you're just gonna like to take content. Period. Like you're gonna have to freaking put yourself out there in different type of conventions and seeing if they would like, if not a live stream, if they like post video editing, consultation, stuff like that. So you can save and buy more equipment, right? Or you can get yourself out there like Spooky did and like how we did and starting doing events and providing our services for them and like what we can do, provide a reel, we lost Paul there, I think. Paul, you still there?
Paul?
Oh, Paul is GG'd.
Done.
But it's not an overnight process. You're gonna have to take these little gigs and find out what your business plan is from there. Like FGC, as much as we would love to see daily gigs and job opportunities, we're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. So when you're doing these little small gigs and building your future, you should build a plan to where you are the go-to producer for this stuff because your products will allow you to give this much, these many features, and you build your niche. Okay, that's to build a professional event broadcast, and then Panda, you already know how to do that. You're already going in that direction. It just costs money. The more features you want, the more expensive it's gonna get. Okay, you should know that. But when you get there, when you like eventually buy your ATEM or your TriCaster and your Red Cam and all that shit, you're fucking gonna be like looking back and like, damn, it took me a while, but now I'm here and I can provide industry grade content for fucking trade shows, for championships, for like side streams. They call them pods. It's a crazy world, but just keep your head up. You gotta find these gigs. You gotta put yourself out there. You gotta give them a product that they're going to really find useful for their production staff. So let's see. Okay, how about this for you guys? Tips to promote and improve a small local scene. Paul, go.
Ooh, I know the answer to this one because it's like something I outlined in and like wanted to do, but knew that I just didn't have it in me. Like, all right, small local scene, right? So nobody, you don't think anyone's around. I can guarantee you, in any city you go to, reasonable city, right? Some places there are barely people, never mind people playing fighting games, but if you're in like a reasonably sized city or near one or something like that, you're guaranteed to find people playing the game that you like. What you need to do is find a place to go that's kind of central to everyone and just go every week. And you know what's going to happen? And so I can liken this to anyone who's started like a stream. So I started streaming back in like November or something like that. And what happens when you first start streaming? Like, man, I'm good at this game. I'm going to start streaming. People are going to come. And then nobody comes, right? And that's what always happens. Nobody comes. And what do you have to do? Every day, you just got to turn the stream on and play. And then eventually, like, wow, I have 10 people in here. Are you kidding? And then after a month, you're like, wow, I have 30. And then eventually, like, it becomes, snowballs. It turns into a thing. And you put more time and effort into it, right? So similar to that, that's how you build a scene. If there isn't one, you just got to take the initiative and you got to go somewhere and you got to be there every day and you got to provide some setups or ask some people who you know are going to be there to bring setups every week, same time, same place. Don't miss a week. Be diligent, be punctual, don't be late, right? That's like a job. And you hate to say that because this is supposed to be the fun things that we do outside of the jobs that most of us probably hate, right? We want to come home from that stuff and do this fun stuff. And this becomes work now. But that's what it takes if you want to build a local scene. Like, I knew for me, I could never do that because I always just want to spend my time playing and being a better competitor because I want to win. So it's hard for me to justify spending all this time like building a scene for other people. Maybe I'm selfish. I don't know. But that's what you got to do, right? Every time you got to promote that shit every day on Facebook. You got to not worry about the people who are going to unfollow you because you don't think they don't want to see the same shit every day. That's how you do it.
Sweet. Any Eliver or AJ want to tackle this, or you guys want to go on next question?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, you got to go out and you got to promote your scene. You got to just go out and try to find people. I mean, use Reddit, use SRK, use event hubs, like try to use social networks, try to find other players, like they're out there somewhere. And then, just find ways to just get better with each other. Like there's some of our best players in the country have come from smaller scenes, like 81 Strider and I Peru in Utah. Like they didn't have a whole lot of people around them, and they've used like every opportunity they had to travel or like play online. They used every tool at their disposal to get to where they are. So it's like when you're put in that kind of situation where you're in survival mode, you'll eventually find ways to make it work if that's what you want.
Excellent. AJ?
So I think this is kind of this will kind of apply to the previous question too. I personally believe, and I'm sure you guys will agree, that if you really want something to be successful, you got to make some sacrifices. If it's coming out of your wallet, by all means, spend as much money as you need to get what you want, whether it's growing a stream, growing a local event, bettering yourself as a fighting game player. Sometimes you're going to need to spend some money to make that happen. Sometimes you're going to need to sacrifice a little bit of your time to make that happen. I mean, I can tell you guys for damn sure that Alex himself has put in more than what you could probably imagine out of his pocket, out of his own mind, to make Wednesday Night Fights what it is and to be where he's at right now. Sacrifice is definitely key to getting to where you need to be.
Yeah, I can touch upon like the struggle of transitioning from a 9 to 5 to what I do now. Dude, like for those of you guys that don't know, I mean, I was sitting comfortably being a sales manager at Coca-Cola, and then I tried real estate as well. And I used to make like comfortable money here and there, roller coasters because it was a sales job. But at the end of the day, I always wanted to fucking play games. I've always played Street Fighter, try to get to Evo, even at like way past my prime years because I always enjoyed being with the crew. And fucking, I had to take a step back because I finally figured out, man, I'm not getting any younger. What do I really want to do? Am I gonna be a salesman for all my life, or Wednesday night fights and like the whole level up idea, right? I took a step back from doing those sales jobs and I went to software development to work QA for a few companies in like Korean publishers, and trying to learn like how this whole game spectrum works. Like I never had I never worked at a video game job. So like okay, so did that. Of course, I wasn't making the greatest money in the world there, but it was a great learning experience. Saved up some money, and on the side, I was like, I got the whole idea with the co-founders of Level Up to, start producing events and then streaming them. And we started with a webcam just like everybody else. And it took a while for me to finally let go of my 9 to 5 to do it full time. And it's just, you have to have that fucking set plan. And then building the community, it's a full time fucking job. If you guys follow my Twitter, how many posts do I make about Wednesday night fights in a day? Almost, right? And how many posts do I like when I have an upcoming SCR event, a fucking any event that we're producing? I'm on that shit. I have like 20 hats on in this company, and I'm like promoting the shit out of it, like to the point where it's like some people have to fucking like mute me on certain things. But like after a while, like I've built that not just because of who I am, it's just how much work I put in to invite everybody to the party. And when I first started Wednesday Night Fights, I only had 2 people go. I had Tatsu and fucking Afro Legends go to my fucking shit. So it's not like because of me I can get 50, 100 people off the bat. That has nothing to do with it. It's just more of like, how can I be there in the fucking trenches with the players and not make it feel like I'm Alex Valle, the fucking dictator. More of like, I'm actually down here with you trying to level you up together. Okay, and that took quite a few years. So I'm like with these guys. And if you're gonna build your scene, you gotta make sure that this is what you want to do. If you're just gonna make 1 post a week, it's not gonna work. If you're not gonna save up and you're not gonna work with the right people, or not find the right people, it's not gonna work. You need to make this. If it's not a full-time job, if you want to keep it a hobby, then have realistic expectations where it's I would team up with an existing organization and follow in their footsteps. Go that way. So maybe they can give you an opportunity instead of starting from scratch. There's so many ways about this, but it's, I'm fortunate to have amazing co-founders with the company that advise me like what to do with my day job and what I should save on and where should we go. Like Jimmy Nguyen has fucking mentored me through a lot of this shit. Frank has fucking he set up the whole stream gear right now. Without their wisdom, I wouldn't be here. So it's not like I created this all myself. I have a lot of great ideas, but without a great team to be cohesive throughout this entire process, none of this shit would happen. There's no way. So got to get up on that, guys. All right. Next question. All right. That was a question by, I got to give this guy his props, by, his name is Bad Execution on Twitter.
Bad execution.
Yeah, okay.
I know all about that.
All right, next question. This is from, Raf, TX Raf. If PC is going to be a more utilized format for tournaments, how does the community agree on a standard to be played on? Let's start with AJ on this one. How's that?
I don't think you have to worry about a standard, considering that Street Fighter V, if that's what we're talking about here. I mean, if it's going to have crossplay, it's not going to be an issue either way. If you've got a stick, it'll work for both your PS4 and your PC. So if you go to a tournament, it's going to work regardless. Okay. I mean, is that really so much of an issue?
I don't know, because like he just generalized. I don't think it. I mean, okay, if it was Street Fighter V, I'm with you, AJ. But if it's like other games, Killer Instinct is coming, but we don't even know more details about how it's gonna be, how the crossplay is gonna work, and all that other jazz. And then Guilty Gear was just announced. I mean, the older version of it, and that sucks because it's moving on to Revelator, right? So, yeah, so we don't like the other games like Tekken 7. There's rumors of Tekken 7 coming on PC. It's only announced for PS4, so we don't even know more details about that. So I guess yeah, the only game we should really at least pay more attention to it is Street Fighter. It's everything has been announced as far as crossplay is coming. Um, I've been experimenting with having like the Alienwares, shameless plug, the Steam boxes. Okay, I made perfectly clear to Alienware like, hey, we need these PCs with the same specs across the board as if they were all Xboxes. Okay, because we did our trial run at Super Arcade, and those were kind of a little bit dated versions, right? So some of the graphic cards weren't that great, and it experienced like over time, like over 4 or 5 hours, there is random slowdown or like some glitchiness that happens, and that shit pissed off a lot of players, and I had to hold it. I'm like, fuck, that sucks. Hopefully this won't have the same effect on like I guess updated ones. And when we had Steam boxes, everything is cool, so it worked out. If tournaments are gonna go on PC, the TOs must have a unified, like, well, I mean not unified, but like their specs must be out there to the players. Like, hey, this is the specs that we're gonna use. Like right as soon as you confirm it with your backer, or if you're gonna purchase these things, make sure the specs are out there. So that way, all the players know. Okay, so we'll test this out and see if it works. Okay, this is cool. I have no issues with this. Run the tournament with these specs, and everything will go right. So as long as you have that transparency with people, I think you'll be all right. So, Paul or Eliver want to
Well,
talk
with
PC?
Street Fighter Five, I think it's like AJ said, like you have cross-platform play, so then like both versions are probably going to be relatively consistent at least. For term owners, I'd say run the PS4 first because we know that like specs are always consistent with that, and then over time see how PC runs, and then like make sure you have your specs consistent throughout, and then eventually if you have experience to run on PC, you have the ability to do so. And in the end, I think it's going to be the tournament owner's decision, but at the very least, they should always consult like their communities, like as to which platform they want to use, because in the end, without the players, you don't have a tournament.
Gotcha.
Yes, I mean my thoughts on that are like, again, yeah, if we're talking about Street Fighter 5, it doesn't matter. You can already see that PC port is like on point. The problem will be ports that are not that great, right? Ports that are like not the same across all platforms. But I think going into the future, as you know, the old games get phased out and the new games come in, I think that will be less of a problem. I think these companies are putting more time and effort into their ports because they kind of know, and I hate to say this stuff because, you know, there's various interests for sponsors between all the people on this call, but like these consoles are very outdated, man. That whole platform closed wall thing is like so 10, 20 years ago. The PC has been like the best platform for gaming since it came out. I mean, like this whole walled garden stick only works on one thing, you know, all these weird problems, like gotta go, right? So as long as the PC ports are good, I think we'll eventually just see everything is going to be PC, because eventually there's going to be a really good PC port for everything. And then the only thing we have to worry about is specs, in which case that has to be managed by TOs and like people who are organizing tournaments. Like, can't just go by recommended specs or minimum specs. You have to have somebody who knows about this shit build a spec and be like, this game runs flawlessly on this hardware, and then just buy a ton of those.
Yeah. Another thing people do not know, if you're gonna run PC tournament, oh man, there is a new hat that you have to support. It's called the troubleshooter. We don't have those. Oh well, they're the bracket runners, right? If like the game turns off and stuff, but you actually need a troubleshooter on standby, because on every other esports title, you have somebody there dedicated to fix a PC issue. And it's this shit happens all the time. Like, especially if there is any like lag or some kind of internet issue, or somebody doesn't have sound, Like fucking they just put their hands up and it's time to fucking troubleshoot. And you see a swarm of a team coming in like their black shirts and they're doing their troubleshooting and the casters have to fucking cast their ass off because
So
yeah.
that is another issue too, that I actually want to speak to. So like I went to school for computer science. I had a computer before people even knew what the internet was. Like the biggest reason that stuff happens, and I've seen this at like local places that do gaming stuff, and they'll have like a PC for certain games, and it's always fucked up. And it's never because of any like it's never because of any reason like, oh, it's just a computer and they fuck up. It's because somebody fucked it up.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's the main problem with computers is because I can't really fuck up a PlayStation because it's not going to let me fuck it up. But a Windows PC, I can like right click on my computer, go to the device manager and shut something off. And now who's the next guy that's going to come along to know how to fix that, right?
Yep.
Nobody. So that's the problem. So really what you need is like some IT dude to come in and install software that doesn't let people do that, like management software that's like, now you can't do shit except turn this game on, and that's it. That's just like something we haven't adopted yet that like most other industries have.
Yeah, you're thinking way out there, but that's a wish list item, man. I would love that. Fucking that's happened to our PC machines. Somebody thought that it lagged, and so they changed. They didn't even know what the hell the optimal setting was, and they changed it, and then that machine turned to be a baddie, not one that we would recommend to use. So I had to switch it back. I'm like, man, what the hell? It's not even like 1080 and VSync is on. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Get out of here. All right. Next question. Here's a good one. Do you think Ultra Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 will coincide with each other at Majors and Capcom Cup in 2016? Why or why not? Let's start with Eliver.
I honestly can't say for sure. Like Street Fighter 5, obviously we know we're going to be playing that. Street Fighter 4, I guess it's going to come down to demand. Like if there's still enough core players who won't let go of Ultra Street Fighter 4 and still want to play it, I could see potential for Capcom still actually having that around. Like I'm pretty sure that a lot of majors will still have Ultra Street Fighter 4 around since it's still so fresh in our minds. And so as far as Capcom Cup goes, I don't know. It's like Capcom already has to put in so much just to run a tournament for one game. Like running two would actually, yeah, that would be logistics for that would take a lot of manpower, and I just don't really see them going out of their way to do that. Like when they really want Street Fighter 5 to do well. So yeah, most majors, yes. Street Fighter 5 for Capcom Cup, not so much.
Okay, Paul.
I'm sorry, I missed the question again because I was Googling snake tits because somebody said I looked like him. What was the question?
You and the snake tits. Yeah.
I was like, who the fuck is snake
tits?
Hey,
you guys are fairly good looking dudes, man. So it's not
it's the same haircut.
Yeah, pretty much same haircut. So the question was this is from Extra Bummy, by the way, on Twitter. Do you think Ultra Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 will coincide with each other's majors and Capcom Cup in 2016? Why or why not?
In Capcom Cup alone or just all majors is this question?
He's asking all of them. This guy is so clever. Majors and Capcom Cup in 2016. Why and why not?
Man, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea, and I don't think anyone does, right? And I don't think there's like there's a barometer for this right now. But I think that everyone has like a personal opinion on it, and I definitely have one. And then like my personal opinion is like, yo, Street Fighter 4 has been around the block. Let's bring in the new thing, and let's
be open. Let everybody know what your real thoughts are. No PG shit here, dude. Do it.
We've been watching that game for how long now? Let's go. Let's watch Street Fighter 5 now.
Okay.
Fuck it, let's go, man. That's it,
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, because like what is there left to do in that game, right? I mean, here the only reason that game's going to stick around is because people have invested time in it. And in my opinion, if I'm a company that just invested all this time and money to develop a new game, fuck the old game. Get that shit out of here. Bring the new game in. Bring in the new sponsors. Bring in the new blood. Bring in the new, like, that's just going to cause a rift, man. That whole Street Fighter 4 at the same time. Like, if we see Street Fighter 4 and 5 at EVO, that the problem there is Street Fighter 4 is established. So to make the transition to 5 and be good there and potentially go to Evo is like, well, now I got to start over in this new game. I might not even be good. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to play Street Fighter 4. Nah, man. It's had its time. Let's bring in the new version of the game.
AJ?
I don't know if it will, but it can. I mean, obviously, there's still some interest in it. But if it does, I don't see it lasting for as long as Street Fighter V's life cycle. I think by the time Street Fighter V is done and over with, Street Fighter 4 would have been done years before that. I mean, obviously, there's still some players that are definitely really good and fun to watch playing Street Fighter 4. So I think that's why you're still going to see some tournaments running it. In fact, at Canada Cup, I was talking to everyone that was there, and everyone was talking about how amazing it was to watch that top 8. I mean, it was entertaining as shit to watch.
Yeah,
and
I was there. That shit was fucking crazy. I love it.
We're gonna have people that'll still want to see that, and as long as you have the demand to want to see that, you're gonna see people running those tournaments. As far as this life cycle goes, I don't know if it's gonna have a couple more years in it left. Maybe you'll see 1 or 2. 2 is probably pretty generous. But I think you'll gradually see people progressing from, getting frustrated with Street Fighter 4 and wanting something new, starting from square one or what have you. But yeah.
It's just not in their best interest, I think, for them to run them side by side or to try to support both games. Like, that's just like, I feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot at that point, because you're making this huge marketing push and this huge push in general to get the new game out. What's the benefit in keeping the old game around? There really isn't one. In fact, you're going to have to spend more resources supporting the old game. And anyway, Street Fighter V seems like a platform for like the foreseeable future. Like, I don't think Street Fighter 6 is going to come in 6 years, because I think the way they're looking at this game now, and we keep referencing MOBAs because they're just a good case, for all this stuff. Like, they've been super successful and they do all this stuff that we don't do. And like, one of those things is like they constantly change their games, right? Like, every time there's a heroes patch, like 10 heroes get changed. Like, and nobody cares because you don't want to see some random hero running around being OP. So it's like, for the future, that's what Street Fighter V is supposed to be, and that's what'll keep it fresh, and not like, shit, now we got to make a new version of the game because this one's like outdated and we need a new platform or something like that. So like, it's a platform for the future. Let's let the past be the past,
I mean, the thing is, money talks, right? And that's why you're still going to see. I mean, I hear you. Like, I honestly would like to move on to something new, something different. And to see newer players, just kind of rise up from Street Fighter V and make names for themselves. But the thing is, you're still going to see people running these tournaments because they want to see if the game has still got interest in it. And if it does, then why not continue running Street Fighter 4 tournaments? So, I mean, people are going to enter Street Fighter 4 tournaments because that's what, like everyone has said, that's what they've invested on. And if you keep running those tournaments and you still want to play it, why not enter it? And that's just...
Yeah, I think objectively you're absolutely right. Like I said, that is like, I don't think anyone has the answer to that. I think it's, and actually you probably do. That's probably the answer, right? Like, if the game sort of has an inertia, right? It's moving in a direction. And if people continue to be like, well, I'm going to run a Street Fighter tournament, and then like a bunch of people sign up because they already know how to play the game, then that has momentum, you know what I mean? And that's hard to stop. It's more like a personal thing. I'd rather just, let's all start on a clean slate. But I didn't invest 6+ years into Street Fighter 4, so my perspective is very different.
Yeah, I mean, you still got people who play Marvel 2. You still got people who play some Third Strike and ST. So yeah, there will always be players who play Ultra.
That's true.
It's just a matter of being able to run both at the same time. And I don't know if there are, like, not every tournament owner is going to want to do that. So.
And it wasn't too long ago, Mr. Wizard like put out a pretty casual poll asking if people would want to see Street Fighter 4 alongside Street Fighter 5 at Evo. And I mean, I don't speak for everyone, but I personally would love to see Street Fighter 4 and 5 at Evo this year.
Okay, you guys said a lot of what I wanted to say, but for the Street Fighter 4, now this is a really touchy subject for Street Fighter 4 players because they've built the scene. Well, not really built the scene, but more of like, oh man, they have really harnessed the next generation. The true like second coming of Street Fighter is Street Fighter 4. Okay, Street Fighter 2 was the first. Now Street Fighter 4, man, it's just amazing. We can never take that away from how many people are brought together. Now, with that said, but unfortunately, all good things must not really die, but just move on. I would just say move on. And I've been around through all of the eras. Okay, as much as I want to hold on to all of the games, and we finally what you're being taught. To be honest, okay, what you're being taught is how to play the next game. They're Capcom. I know they have these talks about just what they're going to do with the Street Fighter 4 players, and if they can bring back the old school players to play a more honest or non-training wheel Street Fighter game. You Street Fighter 4 players, you're being taught how to play the game how it was played back in the days, with no focus and no like overpowering backdashes and all that stuff. You're playing the game that you want people to appreciate your true skill from. I'm not saying Street Fighter 4 doesn't have skills. That game is amazingly hard. It's tough for like in high level plays. It's fucking you see amazing talent, but I mean, let's be real too. If you were to play CVS 2 or fucking Third Strike, those games, you guys would not last a day in the skill set in those fucking games. Not a fucking chance. No way. Street Fighter 4 is way easier to play. However, it's still hard for the new generation to play that fucking game. So, moving forward to Street Fighter 5, I think we are going to see another year of Street Fighter 4 at Majors. Capcom Cup? Probably not. As you guys said, it's it's not. It wouldn't be in their best interest. They got a whole new business model for this. It's a digitally product business model versus, vanilla Fighter 5 to Super Street Fighter 5 to whatever. They're not going to do that no more, and they're adding content like every other month. So, that's just the way that they need to help the ecosystem, as we previously discussed. Okay, I think Street Fighter 4 is still, yeah, it's gonna be at majors. Like I'm looking forward to even thinking about running it at SCR next year, as a Friday game, and maybe Evo will bring it as a Friday game. And history says actually when Evo brings in the next game, so they tend to make the previous game a team tournament. They did that with Third Strike because Third Strike for 8 years has been the main game, or 7 or 8 years has been the main game at Evo. And the last Third Strike tournament at Evo was a 3v3. Okay, so will Evo do the same thing? Yeah?
Was it 2v2?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, 2v2.
Right, yeah.
So team tournament. And will they do it again next year? I don't know. I think it would probably piss people off because Street Fighter 4, since it has been the second coming, people just still appreciate to see who the best player is versus the best like teams. It's just, I think from just the fun part of it, I would like to see teams, but truth of the matter is, I think the scene would rather see a better kind of like farewell for it to still be single. Like say if there is the last of the next generation of players of like the Filipino mans and the Snake Guyses, and are they gonna rise to the occasion next year to actually like send it off? That would be cool, right? And then moving on to the next game. Because they're the future, the Chris T's, the Knuckle Dudes, they're the future of Street Fighter 5. They're going to, I mean, we've already passed the torch to these kids, and they're fucking gonna be the best players in the world, which they are like these days. and without a doubt, you're gonna see them do damage in Street Fighter 5. coming to the weekly events, that's just gonna, at least for Wednesday Night Fights, I still don't even know what to do yet with that shit because we have time constraints, logistical nightmares. People still want it. I don't know. Majors easier to do. Make it a Friday game. So you guys already touched on everything else I wanted to say from here. So.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate. Maybe I'm being a little bit facetious, but there's definitely some truth to what I'm about to say. Historically, for Evo, there's usually been, two major Capcom titles, right? It's been Marvel and CVS.
Yeah.
Marvel and Third Strike. You kind of see where this is going. Why not just drop Marvel and have Street Fighter 4 and 5 as your two main titles?
Oh, Eliver. What you got to say about that, Eliver? Go. Yo, Eliver.
Well, the thing is, Marvel still has its own core following. So, to drop right now, dropping Marvel, I think if you drop Marvel from lineup at Evo, you basically drop a good chunk of all the people who are going to Evo. So, yeah, it's like there are a lot of players in the scene who play mostly Marvel, and so then if there was no Marvel there, next year most of them are going to Street Fighter 5 anyway, so you could get away with that. But in this case, I'd say dropping Marvel in favor of Street Fighter 4, I'm not feeling that.
No, and I mean, it's not necessarily something I really believe in. I mean, for fuck's sake, I'm wearing a Final Round Bat shirt.
I know where you're coming from, though. I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking of logistics, thinking of numbers. I mean, Marvel's numbers has been dipping towards, not the good side, right? I just think logistically it kind of makes sense. I mean, I love watching Marvel. Let's get that out there. I'm just saying, if you're trying to decide between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, well, why are you just gonna drop a massive following for Street Fighter 4 for a paltry following for Marvel?
Well, because a lot of the players who are going to be playing Street Fighter 4 are going to be Street Fighter 5 players. So it's if you have Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, and Marvel, there's going to be a bigger overlap between Street Fighter 4 and 5. So.
Yeah, overlaps. Yeah, that is true. But yeah, Evo just every year now, they have a lot on their plate. The whole Smash thing and that's a whole nother topic. Let's just but they have to figure that out soon, man, because we're gonna see the most tiers in history if we see one of the games being dropped that either if it's gonna be Street Fighter 4, if it's gonna be a Smash game, or if anime even gets any presence, or if 3D games get any presence, and that's already tough as it is. So, man, the Cannons and Wizard have that fucking crazy ass job of picking that lineup every year, and they probably at this point, death threats are like nothing to them nowadays. Be like, oh, you fucking didn't throw fucking Blaze Blue, or you didn't throw Persona. Oh, fucking, we're gonna go to you. We're not gonna give you any waifu pillows. Fuck you guys, or something. I don't know, man. It's just. It sucks, dude. And I feel anybody's pain because these guys are paying customers to come out. They're coming out, they're paying for their favorite game to play, and it's not going to be there. They got to fucking watch at home, and they want to be a part of the party. So, but anyways, good question on that point. Not saying that you can't help run a side tournament at Evo. I'm just saying if your game doesn't make it, there's always other opportunities to run. Okay. Let's see. Eliver got the fucking question. Oh man. Yeah. See, Southtown Shingo said, "Drop Marvel from next year's Evo." I don't think a lot of people will like that. AJ. That's from.
Marvel is that it's very polarized. Right now, it's you can ask anyone in the chat. They either love Marvel or they hate it. They either love watching it or hate watching it. So you're gonna get a very, very split opinion on that.
Oh
Like-
no, actually, I can provide the perfect insight on that, right? I love watching Marvel for like 10 minutes, and then I can't. Like, I really do. Like, as soon as it comes on, I'm like, fucking Marvel, let's go. Where's F Champ? Let's go, Justin Wong. And then I'm like, wait, I've seen this game before. Like, I've seen all of this happen before, and it's like, I don't know. The game is for me. I'm speaking for me personally. I could see you're getting upset.
I totally get that too.
Marvel-
I'm like, yeah, Marvel. Whatever. Let's go. I'm done.
Yeah.
Marvel has hit
For me,
point where it's like you're not going to find a whole lot of new stuff being discovered. So for the people who enjoy watching it, they're not watching it to see something they haven't seen before. They're watching it because they like to see high level play. So then they're not going to enjoy watching someone like just like an average player like who goes like 2-2 in tournaments against gets steamrolled by like Cloud or something. They're going to enjoy watching like Justin versus F Champ. They're going to enjoy watching Ray versus like Cloud and like high level matchups. Those are what people want to see nowadays. They love Marvel.
I agree, but like, if we're talking about future of FGC and like trying to become esports, blah blah blah, I think Marvel would have the ability to be like incredible, but like they don't have the IP, they don't have the licensing rights anymore. Now they can't change the game. Not that they would anyway. I don't know, but like that game could be amazing if they could change it, like, and keep changing it so that stuff is. It's not just. Man, I'm gonna bury myself here. It's stupid, right? Like one touch kill stuff, like, but that's kind of been Marvel for a long time, I think, right?
We broke that game open and
Right. So like
out.
that kind of is Marvel, but I also don't like it. Yeah, it's fun to watch too because like they did such a good job with being like faithful to the characters and stuff like that too, like the comic book characters. Like did such a good job with all that shit that for me, like that's kind of why it's fun to watch. And I like the personalities behind a game. I love F Champ, right? So I love to watch that shit. But if it was like for example, like Cloud's amazing, but like I'm just not a big fan of his. So when he plays, I get bored. But when F Champ is playing, he's doing the same shit. They're doing the exact same things. But I'm like, I love this because it's F Champ, you know? I think that game is surviving off personalities. If F Champ, Justin Wong, Kbrad, right? You think he still plays the game? If those dudes were like, nah, not into Marv. Oh, he doesn't?
oh yeah, it is.
no, I don't play this game anymore. But yeah, if those dudes just left, I think Marvel would tank. You know what I mean? Because I think that game is more about personalities right now. Because like they want to see Cloud versus F Champ. They don't give a fuck what's happening in the game. That's my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong.
You know, if we're on this panel to kind of think out of the box here, why not take Marvel like the boxing UFC route? Because I mean, you guys touched on it, right? Like Eliver especially, that Marvel is really just super polarizing. But I'll bet you more than anything, a good majority of this chat right now would love to see like at a major, right? It doesn't even have to be a high stakes match, but a first to 10 between F Champ and KBR. Like I would fucking love to see that shit.
It's about the stories right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
like there's
exactly.
a story behind it. People would want to see that match. So
that's a great idea, right? Like no more brackets or tournaments because really, how many great Marvel players are there? Just let's see some prize fights.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna add to that. Last year, okay, one of the most viewed streams outside the Capcom Pro Tour, mind you, was F Champ versus Nemo, or Nemo, however you guys want to fucking say his name, at West Coast Warzone. That shit was hype as fuck. Okay, no other game pulled that many fucking viewership outside of Capcom Pro Tour. That shit hit like I think it peaked at 37,000 people watching that shit. That shit was fucking crazy. That shit was nuts. I'm like, what, really? What the hell? But you guys are absolutely right. It's about the storylines, the established community. But there are some new talent there is coming up and doing their damage, like that guy Cosmos. He just won, right? Over Ray. Yep.
like you've got a lot of
Terry Bogards, the guys online. They're fucking Marvel online fucking players. Those guys are fucking right there in the top 8 spectrum right now. Just like I'm gonna fuck with the 5 gods now. So
I will say, there have been world championships that were won through online Marvel. Like this Scant got more online Marvel than he did in person.
Man,
that game online is only for people who hate themselves, man. I can't. That code is so bad. It's so bad.
Yep. So, but Well, here's a question for you guys. I now we're so into this. Twitch is way out there. It's like everybody's streaming. Anybody can stream from their fucking PlayStation 4, okay? So or their Xbox Ones, and everybody like that. A new game comes out, it's fighting games. They want that as the next best fucking. They want that as the next best esports game, and I don't think the community knows that like just it's gonna take a lot of work to get their game out there, and if it's gonna be accepted as a fun game to watch. Uh, would it be wrong to just kind of like just say, hey, because I'm put in this situation a lot, but I'm asking you guys, would it be wrong to just say, hey, look, right now you're gonna have to give me a good reason why your game should be on the main stage, or why should it even get this much exposure? And why do you think that is? Go, Paul.
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you asking me that question? Sorry, I was distracted. Are you asking me that question personally, or like how we should answer that question for people?
Yeah, how should we answer that question or how should you
So
answer
some
that?
dude's new game coming out, he really wants to be the champion of it, and he's asking us like, what do I do? Like,
Yeah, that and like, because everybody wants their game as like, hey man, why isn't my game on the main stage? Or like they're always gonna ask that, but they don't really have like. We're trying to be nice to them, but I want to hear what your guys' take. What would you guys say to these guys? Like, and even Marvel, older games too, older games.
I feel like I am that guy, right? Because I play a game that,
There you go.
like, in relatively everything you hear I'm saying is like relative, right? Like nobody cares about KI. Yeah, if you go to the KI community, we're all diehard about it. I kind of am washing away from it a little bit, but in relation to other games, like nobody cares about that game. So I always used to be like, yo, what do we got to do? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, honestly, this might not be what you're looking for. This might not be the answer that you're looking for. But honestly, I don't think there is anything you can do, man. Your game either speaks to people or it doesn't. If the problem is exposure, like if the problem is because it was poorly marketed or something like that, like that's another issue. And I'm not sure like an individual or a group can handle that, right? You need like money. You need to like advertise the game and shit like that. So I've never seen that happen. I've been like pretty high level at a couple games that I've competed in, and there were always games that really, in relation to others, no one really cared about. And we always had these questions like, how do we make our game bigger? How do we show people how good this game is? And it's like, well, there's no answer to that, because what you're doing is you're trying to change other people's opinions about the game. It's like, well, hey, this game you didn't like before, here's all these reasons you should like it. It's like, nah, the game just never spoke to me, man. And I think it's you can't intellectualize that. It's just visceral. You either sit down with the game and it speaks to you and you have fun with it, or you don't. Because at the end of the day, it's a game and it's supposed to be fun. And it's not supposed to be like, hey, let me show you all this cool stuff. It's going to take like about a month to learn and da-da-da-da-da. And then it's amazing, right? Nobody wants that. They want to sit down and have fun with it on minute one, right? So you cannot. It's probably not what you're looking for. I don't even think there's an answer to this question, right? These games that are super popular right now aren't popular because some random dude was like, I love this game and I want to champion it, right? And he did like ABC. He went and did the right, sequence of activities and events, and all of a sudden the game became popular. The one consistent thing that I've seen that makes games successful or esports is developer support. 100%. No other thing I've seen, right? Dude, I've been around a long time, man. The only thing I've seen that makes games successful and stand out in the long run is developer support or publisher support, right? Whatever. Whoever made the game is constantly putting support into it through events, money, advertising, making the system better, making matchmaking better, making it so you're not sitting there twiddling your thumbs at home like, I don't know, I don't have anyone to play, or everyone sucks, or, right? Look at StarCraft for an example. You go into that game day one. I started playing that game when it first came out. I'd never touched a real-time strategy game. I'm like, I want to learn how to play StarCraft 2. I played that game for 3 years straight. Why? Because it was really easy to play online, and the matchmaking system was incredible, and there was a tier system, the ranking, right? They built that. They spent a lot of time figuring out how to get that right so that every game I play matters, right? Every game I play is challenging. I'm learning something. I'm winning or losing. I'm going up in the rank. I'm going down in the rank. There's some self-reflection. There's replays I can go watch. There's pro players I can go watch because they're creating these huge tournaments that are global. And I can say, well, shit, let me see if I can go get some new strategies. I'm going to watch the Global World Championship Series that Blizzard is putting on for StarCraft, right? And it's this like ecosystem of just awesome, constant content that not one dude or like grassroots dude can handle on their own, right? It's got to be the developer, like Capcom Cup, right? It's got to be shit like that. Look at League, right? Who runs all that stuff? It's Riot. Who puts all the money in? It's Riot, right? Even look at MKX. I think that game is like, I don't know what the longevity of that game is, but what makes it so successful right now? Why are people still playing it? Every tournament has $10,000 in it. Who's doing that? NetherRealm Studio. This ESL thing, who's giving them $100,000? Some sponsors probably, but probably a lot of it is developer support, or at least the money that's coming in from other sponsors is coming, like it's initiated by NetherRealm. They're like, let's talk to sponsors and get $100,000 in this tournament, right? That's the only way it's going to happen. That's the only person or group that has the resources to make it happen. Keep making your game better. Keep making the events. Make it so that when people turn on your game, there's shit to do and not just like, well, now I have to go find an offline community, right? It's like instantly shit to do, instantly ways to make yourself better. And that's the answer. So I'm sorry, kid, you can't do it. You got nothing for you, but that's my answer.
So to kind of piggyback off that, and I agree 100%. Like the developers do have a major influence on how successful a game is. The thing I would disagree with, though, is that as Joe Schmo that wants to make a game successful, you can do something about it. You could band people together and talk to the developers yourselves, because obviously developers want their game to be successful, right? Some of them don't know what the fuck they're doing, so they're listening to people. Like, all these guys are always listening to you. And it's not, oh, your game's shit, make it better. Have some productive, constructive criticism for these guys, like actually have some salient things to say to them, and really just, have good intentions for your game. Like, you can do something about something if it's not doing as well as you'd like it to. But it takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah, man, I think that's a good attitude. And I think the problem is developers don't listen. They think they know better. I've experienced that a number of times with games. I'm kind of experiencing it right now. I hate to throw people under the bus, but like Killer Instinct, right? All the top players, a lot of the, not even top players, I think just a lot of players in the community in general have a lot to say about what could make the game better and more successful in the future. And then the developers kind of just go and do a bunch of stuff that like nobody ever talked about. And it's like, well, yeah, they have their idea and vision of what the game is, and they think they know better. They're the developers, right? So stuff is, I agree with you, man. And you put videos out and you talk about the stuff that's wrong and you want to fix it, or you just put videos out to try to even get their attention because they've probably abandoned the game or something at that point. And that is a hard road. And even if you do get a line of communication, they end up just doing what they want. And I think, that sort of happened with KI Season 1. Like, we tried really hard. We were like, look, the game is really good. Just do these two things or whatever. And then they changed a bunch of stuff. And we were like, well, where'd all this stuff come from? I thought we were sort of unified on like what would make the game better. And it's like, and again, I'm not shitting on anyone. Iron Galaxy is an incredible company, and DH before them. But like, it's just an example of how like, man, we tried super hard to like this game's good. Let's just tweak a few things. And then all these changes came out of nowhere. It's like, wait, where'd those come from? You know what I mean? We tried as a community to like stand up, but it's hard to get. Even when you're the little guy in a little community, you're still the little guy. It's weird,
Yeah, you guys said some great points. The whole developer support, I mean, we talk about that a lot. I mean, that's part of the ecosystem here, okay? But then there are stories where, like, Melee. Now, let me tell you guys about Melee, okay? Before you guys, like, just, what about Melee? They have no online play and the fucking community did it. You're absolutely right. But then you're talking about Nintendo here. The power of Nintendo and the power of their fucking IPs on that game is surreal. That surpasses everything. Okay, Nintendo is a global fucking entertainment system. Okay, more so than like any fucking Mario. No mascot, no IP is bigger than Mario. I don't care what you say. So if you have that as your fighting game, you are in households worldwide that is globally known, probably bigger than Mickey Mouse. So, I mean, when you have a community that's backing that shit for years upon years, they've had tournaments, it just hasn't been showcased on streams, and finally you have the audience, you finally show the audience by streams or videos that this scene exists. Of course it's going to be an explosion. Of course. So, but I mean, no disrespect to the other communities and other games, like if you're trying to put Jago versus like a Pikachu, all right, what resonates more worldwide? Okay, it's just that's part of the reason some of these games are extremely popular. Street Fighter, the oldest fucking fighting game out there, of course, that has hit people in their 40s now. Okay, like I am almost there. Okay, I'm almost in my 40s, and of course, it's a worldwide fucking game. Some of the newer games are niche and upon niches, and it's harder for smaller communities to shine and bring these games out to like the mainstream. It's just it takes a shit ton of work because you have to introduce a brand new IP. Like look at a lot of the anime games is like their biggest one right now is Guilty Gear, right? And that game is the old school of anime games, and it got rebooted to like something amazing, even more amazing. They didn't fuck it up. That game is sick. The game is sick as fuck, and it can only still do so much for viewership. It's not like okay, we redid Guilty Gear, but made it so much better, which they did, and well, so to speak. And it's not destroying Street Fighter numbers. It's not destroying, fucking even Marvel numbers. So it's like it takes time. Okay, like I think things like Jabali and Rick are doing for the CEO Otaku. I think that's the fucking right step into making games like that way more exposed and giving itself its true identity. That it's not anime section is not just part of a major with all these other games. It's its own thing. It's they're trying to build that, and I think that's if we see more of that, that's how you're gonna help your game. So don't be that guy that just like trying to take your your game that you want and you feel that it's not getting justice to not being on the mainstream is because you have to build the community. You can't just fucking go from the game came out a week ago. I want this shit in the main stage. It's not this life does not work that way. It doesn't. So, okay. That was yeah. I have okay. The reason why I asked you guys this is because I'm kind of going through that at Wednesday Night Fights. We've invite everybody to come there, and I said, you know what? Before I announce Wednesday Night Fights, I'm like, instead of putting 4 games on the main stream, which we only have a 4-hour time slot, why not just give everybody full stream time in their own sections? That way they can build upon their own channels and they can show the game 100% of the time versus like an hour or at 2 a.m. or something. That was the old model when we had people were pissed at me too. It's not a win-win for me. Like when I was started to put like Yatagarasu and Persona and then Marvel like at like 1 a.m. The Marvel community, which was the bulk of the community, the stronghold of the runback, they were pissed off that I pushed their game back there. But what I was just trying to do was trying to give exposure to the little games, and that didn't really work out well because inevitably it felt like it was forced, right? That's what a lot of viewers, the feedback I got, or it wasn't necessary. I should have those games on another night and put Marvel as give it more shine on that day because the majority of the community is there versus other games. So. And Wednesday Night Fights now, like their Marvel community, like Paradigm and those guys, they're like, hey man, Marvel's not even on the main stage, and we're on like another guy's stream. Yeah, it's cool that he's doing it, but we're not even getting main game appearance anymore. This is totally different. So, I mean, I respect his feedback, and I'm not trying to like kill the game or anything. This is like a trial run and how we're kind of like giving exposure to these games now because the spectrum has changed again. Okay, not every game is the most popular game to watch anymore. Marvel used to be, but it's not. I mean, and in order for Marvel to be popular again the way you want, you're gonna have to fucking build events like these showman events, these first to tens that AJ wants to see with fucking Cane Blue River and F Champ, right? Think of how many other Marvel type of team stuff, and if there was here's a freebie. If somebody were to organize F Champ versus fucking Cane Blue River, $1,000 or $10,000, whatever, and just make a Marvel major out of that shit, and have that as the headlining event. Put a Marvel team tournament, singles tournament, and then that as your first to 10. I bet you Marvel will fucking blow the fuck up. Versus if you just put Marvel in a side of a major. That's the difference. So you got to build new type of content for the audience to build up on that hype. Like the Nemo versus F Champ at West Coast Warzone. People wanted to see that match more so than Nemo's Rolento. Well, I mean, give or take if you're a Marvel fan or Street Fighter fan, right? Because it did. That Marvel first to 10 or first to 15, sorry, had more views than the Ultra Grand Finals at West Coast Warzone.
Yep.
So, that's just the my point of view on that. Okay, just a couple more guys, and we're gonna wrap it up because a lot. This was way too much. I'm getting a little hungry. Okay, here we go. Dylan,
Yeah, I gotta cook dinner too.
Yeah, Dylan Jones, DJ Melody or Malady, I don't know how you say it. Do invitational events such as the Red Bull Invitational have more potential to bring in more viewers and players in 2016, or do FGC majors? Go ahead, Paul, on that one.
Man, I do this every time. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's fine.
I gotta stop being a stream monster.
Do invitational events such as the Red Bull Invitational have more potential to bring in more viewers and players in 2016, or do FGC majors?
That's an interesting question. I don't know how I feel about invitationals in general. I think they're a little exclusive, non-inclusive. That's kind of something I don't like about them. I like the idea of where we're going, and at least FGC has always seemed like this, where it's like, if you're good, go to that tournament. If you do well, people will know who you are, right? It just works that way, and you just fight up from the bracket. A lot of this stuff seems to be becoming more a closed wall, where it's like, we're just going to invite the top players, and that's like, well, how did you become one then at that point? So I kind of don't like invitationals. I do like that Red Bull is doing that. That's huge, right? That's exposure from I think anything Red Bull does in general, people are going to pay attention to. So that's good. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I think AJ hit on this a little bit with the Marvel thing, man. Like, we have this weird way of showcasing our events where it's like this huge bracket, it's this 2-day thing, and I think people just want to, like, if fighting games feel a lot like boxing or MMA, they feel more like that, or like wrestling, than they feel like, you know, a 3-day long grueling tournament. Like, it's not Tour de France, dude, it's UFC, right? So I think I'm going on a tangent here, but I want to see our events be less like I like that invitational thing, right? Let's get 10 hot ass players in a room and see what happens, right? Like, that's cool, man, because it's like this, you get to see the good shit quick and it's over, right? And it's like, yeah, streaming pools is cool, but the only reason you're doing it is because the event's 3 days long and you want to show people stuff. Like, honestly, I could do without pools being streamed half the time, because a lot of time it's matches I don't want to see, to be quite honest. I want to see when the good players are on. Later in the tournament, you see more of that. But I mean, if you use Twitch chat as a barometer for that stuff, when it's just random, you know, pool matches, everyone's like Resident Sleeper, worst Ryu I've ever seen. It's like, all right, well, spectators don't want to see this stuff for the most part. You know what I mean? So I like the idea of the invitational thing, but I don't want it to be exclusive. I still want it to be inclusive. And I like the idea of the UFC prize fight thing, right? And I wonder if we could restructure the FGC to be more like, well, there's a champion, right? And like, you can climb the ladder to get to him, instead of it just being like a bracket in a 1-day tournament, right? It's more like, well, I fight this guy who's like kind of ranked the same as me, and I beat him, so now I go up a rank. Now in the next tournament, I fight this guy, but none of that's streamed, because who the hell gives a shit to see random guy A and B fight each other, right? It's just like, well, now I'm rank now I'm high ranked fighter. People have heard of me. I'm undefeated, you know, or I've beat all these other good players. Now people want to see me play. And it's not a bracket of, you know, going to top 8. It's just like, nah, it's whatever, like Nemo versus Bonchan or something. And it's like, that's, even though it's not like a grand finals of a major, it's a match people really want to see. And then either one of them will rank up. And that's thing that lends itself more to the whole boxing analogy and the UFC or wrestling analogy than it does. I don't know. Majors feel like Tour de France, and that's kind of boring, even if you're a cyclist.
Gotcha. Eliver AJ?
Well, I mean, the thing with majors is that they get most of their viewership on finals days. And so when you have invitationals like Red Bull, it basically cuts out the first 2 days and you go straight to the top 8. Now, in terms of viewership, like the question was, like, does it have potential to gain more viewership than most majors? I think like any difference is going to be minimal at best, because most of the people who are going to watch these FGC events they're just going to watch it anyway. And then Red Bull, they have the ability to reach out to more people due to advertising. So you might be able to bring in a couple more viewers like who are relatively new to the FGC. But in terms of sheer numbers, I really don't see it changing like all that much. You'll have your invitationals, you'll have your majors, and then both are going to get lots of viewers. And so the difference if any isn't going to be really all that big, in my opinion.
I mean, it depends how you market the structure of it, right? If you're just like, oh, 8 of the top players in the world in an invitational and done, right? Instead of like, you know, F Champ versus fucking KBR or whatever his name is, then it's an event, you know, then it's legit. And then you're going to get 1 million viewers, you know. And that, dude, that's like Ronda Rousey and Holly Holmes or whatever her name is. I don't know what her name is. Holmes, right?
Holmes.
So,
yeah,
like, I don't give the first shit about UFC, man. And I can tell you right now, I was like interested to see what was going to happen in that fight, right? Because like, but what if that was a bracket of UFC players? I'd never be able to tell the difference between them. I'd be like, I don't know. I've heard of all of these people, I guess. And then I wouldn't care, right? And make it more about the personalities and the stories, like we've mentioned before. And I think those invitational things have a potential to do that, but it has to be more focused. It can't just be like, well, we know these guys are like the best players in the world. Let's just invite them and see what happens. It's got to be more like, you know, this dude said this thing or whatever, you know, and there's some beef or whatever. Like, make a story out of it, keep it interesting. Like, I love watching top 8s and shit. And like, I love majors, you know, I love going to them and competing. But honestly, the format's a little boring. Spice it up a little bit, make it interesting. Maybe that'll bring in the viewers, man. If we were UFC or wrestling instead of Tour de France, maybe people would be into it. Now I care about UFC, right? Now because of Ronda and she lost, you know, and I'm like, damn, that sucks for her. I want to see her come back. I'm gonna watch her career now for the rest of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if she was just in some bracket and lost in grand finals to Holly, I probably would never even heard of her, you know?
So I definitely think there's value in both, but the value is a little different depending on your perspective. I'm with Eliver. I think that both majors and invitationals kind of bring the same kind of viewership. I mean, give or take, right? But I'm also with you, Paul. In all honesty, like I don't watch pools. Like when I watch tournaments, even when it's live, I don't usually watch it up until like top 16, top 8, because
I'm kind of the same, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most everyone kind of feels that way. But from a player perspective, you kind of want to aspire to be on a stage somewhere, and you're not going to get newer players if they don't have anything to aspire to. If you're a brand new player and you're watching these streams and you see, oh, the only way I'm going to make it up there is if I make top 8, well, you kind of are shooting for the moon here, and that's all you're shooting for. But if you go to a major and you know that you can somehow end up on stage, I think that presents a little bit more value to the player.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that's what in the game that I play, that was always my thing. It's like, man, I want to get on stage with those guys. I want to be playing. But, you know, it's much easier in the game that I play, and there are a lot less people, so it was a much more attainable goal. So I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a thing.
Also, I definitely think that like commentators have a huge role in that too. Like, you know, if you have some amazing commentators that just entertain the shit out of you, like it's fun to watch pools. Like, you know, if if Yipes was on, or like Z, or anyone that's just mad entertaining is on, I'll probably watch, but I wouldn't be watching for the matches.
Yeah, well, to help major, and I think the Capcom Pro Tour has been doing a great job at this now. With the exception of the 10 a.m. pools. After the 10 a.m. pools, everything they try to time it to where you watch the winners finals and losers finals of each pool. So at least you'll get like any of the heartbreak stories, right? And then after pools are done, then of course they go on their break. They go into the semifinals. They don't stream all of them, so they have a pretty good formula. And I think other streams should follow suit because yeah, after a while you're gonna put Joe Schmo versus Joe Schmo, and if the game is new, I mean I don't think that's gonna matter, but I mean if the game's got a little bit of prestige behind it, you're just gonna want to watch the top players all the fucking time. So there's some truth behind that. And then the whole like UFC, like Paul, you didn't really care until you saw Ronda get knocked out. Now you'll probably be tailgating a fucking undercard match.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I am a life for life Ronda Rousey fan, and like could have cared less before that.
Yeah, so that's like every Mayweather fight because people want to see him lose, right? That's a Pacquiao fight because he's explosive. Everybody wants to see all that shit, and they don't give a damn rat's ass about what's going on with card matches. Those are like pre-drinking celebration fucking moments, man. Like, oh man, like by the time the fight starts, you're like, all right, what's going on? At least I drink my ass off when it comes to that with my pops or something, man. We watch that shit. That's just cool. All right, I think that was gonna be the last one, guys, because we're already reaching about 2 hours or so with this. So I thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I know there's still so much to talk about of the FGC and where we're going, but I might do another one towards the end of the year. It's just I have some time now, and it's so impromptu, and you guys were fucking stallions to come on. So if any of you guys want to like let everybody know where to reach you, do it now. Go. Paul?
So I am PaulB. I'm a Killer Instinct player primarily. I've been playing fighting games my whole life. If you want to follow me, I have a stream that I've been running. It's actually the same as my Twitter, which is LLPaulB. So Twitch TV/LLPaulB and Twitter.com/LLPaulB if you want to check my shit out. I'll be doing a lot of Street Fighter V stuff, and I think that's it.
Sweet. Oliver?
My name is Eliver Ling. My Twitter handle is @Eliver Ling. And I play Marvel, Street Fighter, a whole bunch of different games. And on occasion, I might stream some Marvel or Street Fighter. So you can feel free to check that out on Killer_Kai on Twitch. So yeah, hope to see you guys around.
Sweet. AJ?
All I do is manage players, so don't follow me. Follow my players.
There you go.
At J1GG, at PR_Balrog, at Hello Kitty Ricki, at Momochi212, at Kbrad JStorm, and at Chocoblanka. Follow those guys, not me.
Sweet. Again, round of applause for these guys. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you, AJ, at Capcom Cup. Oliver, probably Wednesday Night Fights, and PaulB. Hopefully I'll see you soon, man. Okay.
Soon. Yeah.
All right, guys.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.
You guys have a good weekend.
Peace.